And welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. The Jason Cavness Experience is brought to you by Cavness HR. At Cavness HR, we deliver HR to companies with 4 fewer people. With our HR platform, we're providing you access to a dedicated HR business partner. Our guest today is Daniel Spencer. Daniel, you ready to be great today?
Yeah, let's do this.
Daniel comes from Silicon Valley, where he has been interested in health and wellness for over 20 years. His health and fitness exploration has brought him to explore unconventional types of training and lifestyle. While working in the corporate world, it became very apparent to him that an environment like that was not natural for him. And he decided to implement a practice that kept his body feeling good after long days working at the desk. Daniel, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and share with your audience.
So Daniel, first question, talk about how you got interested in health and fitness like 20 years ago.
Oh, that's a very good question. Something inside of me told me that we have the potential to reach great objections. And so I felt like in my own practice, I wasn't able to reach that. And I was comparing myself to other people. And I felt there's something more I can achieve in my body. Like I wanted to know the proper way to eat, to move, to live, so I can do it for a long period of time. It wasn't about the short-term goals. It was about a long-term approach due to the fact that I had a lot of injuries. And I had to shift my mindset shift of like focusing on short term and trying to be performance oriented and focus on, no. I want to be able to do this for a long term because I'm young and my friends are not getting injured and I'm the one getting injured. And there's something has to change here. Something's not right. So I had to adapt and, really go inside of myself and say like, let's figure this out. And my first company was actually called Maximize Your Potential. I felt inside of me, I wanted to maximize this potential, my body, my mind, everything about it. So that came from nutrition to movement and everything that goes along with that.
Can you talk about your health before you did the switch? Was it like your poor health, eating badly? Like, can you talk about that?
Well, it's just a standard diet. Literally you don't I was very picky, very, very, very picky. Like my mom and my family can attest. Like I didn't want sauce on my spaghetti. I didn't want onions on my burger, I was very, very picky and I don't know why. It's just, I had these, idiosyncrasies. I just was very particular. And so it got to the point where I wasn't fully nourishing myself the way I could be. And so, yeah, that literally was like the big changing moment of like comparing myself to other people basically. And then also deep side, like some deep down, I felt like there was something quote unquote wrong with me. Like I was comparing myself to other people and I wasn't up to that level with them, like, why can't I be as that fast? Why can't I, do the things that they can do? So I had to compare myself and I had to go into my own, quote unquote lab and figure it out. And like, how can I do what I need to do to get it to that level?
And what kind of injuries were you getting back then?
Well, I had a lot of like knee injuries. And then the main one was a shoulder injury. So I had a shoulder injury and that really put me off and I was putting on weight, putting on muscle. I was actually pursuing a career as a firefighter and I got hurt in the training and it just literally was like, okay, I can't do this. I don't feel comfortable. I don't have confidence in my body to be able to do that type of work. And then also what interests me most about being a firefighter was serving people and being helpful to people and learning about the medicine side of things. And so it wasn't just about the, the rah and the, and putting out the fire. It was also the community aspect of it and the helping and the healing people.
People are talking about lifting weights, running. Is there any way to train your joints? Because our joints take a lot of like pressure, a lot of, overbearing. Is there anything to train your joints with?
Absolutely. And my mindset and my philosophy has shifted throughout the years. I used to think like running is bad or certain movements are bad. But those movements are not bad. What happens is the body that we're putting into that movement is actually not quote unquote optimal. So like, depending on where you're at, if you're a sedentary person, then maybe you don't have the strength within your legs to support a running endeavor, or you don't have the heart rate or so you can't absorb the forces. And I think a lot of it is people are trying to outsmart the body in its totality. Like we want to put on fancy shoes. You want to put on all these things. You want to like build and build and build and protect the body when actually the body works best when it has very minimal, very limited resources. So I can run barefoot now. Before I couldn't. I had lots of knee injuries. And another thing is like shoes, right? We can talk about shoes. Everybody says, okay, you need shoes. They're good for you. They protect your feet. They actually help you run better. But in reality, they actually change your gait mechanics when you're running. So instead of your foot knowing where the ground is, it's searching for the ground. So we have tons of nerve receptors on the bottoms of our feet. And so when you actually take away that that protection, your foot doesn't know where the ground is. So your body doesn't know, the mind to the body connection is altered. So then you actually, that's where you can actually create that impact force into your body. But if you're barefoot and you try to run that same way, landing with your heel first, like you did in a shoe on, they had a shoe, you're instantly going to be like, this is not going to work. So you have to adapt.
What's that saying from way back in the day? You're a tenderfoot because you can't walk. You can't walk on your bare feet. People used to call you a tenderfoot way back in the day.
Exactly. And there was a time, going back to my knee injuries, where I had these knee injuries, and they're kind of like phantom knee injuries. I was diagnosed with iliotibial band syndrome. It's a really fancy word for basically the tendons of my muscles were basically out of balance, and literally comes down to balance with the body. And so what happened was I went to a chiropractor, and he's like, you have flat feet, like you're diagnosed with flat feet. I'm like, okay, is that like genetic? Is that a bad thing? He's like, no, you just have flat feet. It's just that's who you are. And so you have to wear orthotics and you have to wear shoes the rest of your life. I don't want you to go barefoot. That's going to hurt your knees even worse. And so I believed that for a little while. I went to a running store and, I was like, okay, I have flat feet. I need orthotics. They gave me these orthotics and these shoes that were 2 sizes too big. And I asked the guy, what if I want to move laterally? This is okay if I'm running straight, but what if I want to move laterally, like to do something? He's like, oh, we don't do that. You don't want to do that. Why would you want to do that? You're a runner. I'm like, something is off here. Like I was just like, my alert was like, something's off here. So I started to research about the feet and foot health and got into barefoot health. And I came across this amazing resource of this guy who's actually from Santa Barbara. He used to live in Seattle, and his name's Barefoot Ted. And he literally is running marathons bare feet. And again, so my mind's like comparing myself, like, human body, why can he run barefoot and I can't, and I have to wear these shoes? So that got me really researching and learning about the body in its totality and foot strength. Nobody talks about foot strength. They're all about, how big are your biceps and how big is your chest muscles, or how strong your feet. Can you actually, like you said, do you have tender feet, or can you actually adapt? Can you move within these environments where your body can actually absorb the forces and you're not injury? So to me, I guess you put the whole health paradigm is about adaptability. How well can we adapt? Like a perfect situation is great, but life is not always perfect. And you have to be able to adapt. Like today, I missed an exit here. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm stressed. Like, what am I going to do? Okay, well, I've never been here before. So I have to just learn to adapt, focus on my breathing. Okay, relax. You're going to be okay. Find parking, it's going to be okay. So yeah, I kind of did a little bit of tangent there, but overall, I think the overall goal is like, let's focus on how minimal we can be, and let's focus on connecting the mind to the body. And that was a big thing that I noticed when I'm training people, is they're very disconnected to their bodies, which is a huge problem.
Daniel, what does good health mean to you?
I would go back to the word adaptability, being able to go into environments which you may not feel comfortable in and succeed. So it could be anything you could think of as a backpacking trip. It could be going into a cold river or lake, or living in Mexico in extreme heat when it's hot out and literally you go outside and you start dripping sweat. Can you still function in that environment? All sorts of, I think the full totality of the human experience.
Is there any connection between like your mental health, physical health, and spiritual health?
Absolutely. I would say everybody comes at this from a different level. Some people, like, they focus on the meditation aspect of it, and then they later go into more of a physical practice. The way my experience was more of a physical experience, and it's shifted more towards definitely the spiritual and the mental aspect of it. It's one of the things is like, I feel like we're not challenging ourselves enough. We live in these societies where things are very comfortable, and let's kind of step outside the comfort zone and let's see what happens. And when you step outside a comfort zone, that's where the growth opportunities can happen.
So of course, you know, the spiritual, mental, physical is to be like 33.3% of peace, right? But sometimes people will focus, like they'll focus 80% on physical, 20% on mental. Like, what's the best tip for people like have balance in all three?
Include a practice that actually includes those in the practice. Just simple, but you can, it's all about the mindset. So if you're doing yoga, it's all about, okay, I'm going to focus on my breathing. And then at the end, it's about, let's move the body, let's move that energy around, and then let's see how fast, how we can calm the energy down. So it just goes down to a balance. And honestly, it literally comes down to how well you're connected to the day. Are you watching the sunrise? Because there's lots of studies, you know, I've spent a lot of time learning about that, of what it does when the circadian rhythm of when you see the sunrise.
I've heard that before too.
And it's one of those things where it's free. Everybody can do it. You know, no matter where you are, you can wake up in the morning, watch the sunrise, and then you're like, oh my gosh, okay, this is the start of a day. I can do whatever I want with that day. And then if you take on the day, you know, you'll notice you probably have more energy. And then when you watch a sunset, you're like, you can look back and reflect and like, that was a great day. Or maybe that wasn't the best day, but there's another opportunity, because as the day shifts to night, now you have a new shift, right? And now you can go into a new mindset. Now it's nighttime. Okay, maybe we're going to cook some food together, be in a family, and let's turn that day, which maybe wasn't optimal and ideal and stressful, and now you have a chance to change it. So I think there's a lot of opportunities here that people are just kind of getting into a program, which I feel is kind of is a big challenge, you know, and it goes down to the mind-body connection of just like, okay, here I do. I have to do this. 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 Like I have to. Well, you have moments within the day to actually, you know, think about things and like think about, okay, what would I rather be doing in this instance? And I think a lot of people are not fully stepping into that of like, what would I, if I'm not, I think presence is the big one too, you know, like we're here, we're present. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to eat later. You know, I'm not thinking about what I need to do. It's just about you and I in presence, and that connects the mind body experience right here.
Daniel, is there any exercise out there that is actually a waste of time that doesn't do you any good? Whether it be something in the gym or just like, I don't know, body squats or anything out there that is actually, well, this is actually not doing you any good?
I would say no, because you're moving your body. And when you move your body, you're actually creating circulation. Your heart has to pump, and you're moving your body into space. So in totality, I would say the ones that you're just going through the motion and you're mindless, I'd say mindless movement is a waste of time. So I didn't really connect with certain movement modalities where it's just about how many reps, how many sets can you do in this amount of time? Because to me, it's not about that. I want to feel like, how can I make things more efficient? Because I want to do the things longer and you know, as long and efficient as possible. I don't want to grind through stuff. I don't, and that to me, it's not about that. So if I'm running, I don't want to focus on, you know, how fast I can do it. I want to be how efficient I can do it, and then how fast I can recover, because that means my body's adapting in the right way.
So you make a good point. I think a lot of people exercise, including me in the past, like you do the same thing all the time, the same routine. You might put more weights on there. You might run a little faster, but you still do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Talk about the points of, I think it's called, I can't remember what it's called, but like you might do swimming Monday, run Tuesday, lift weights Wednesday. Talk about the points of change it up as often as you can.
Yeah. And I think, again, the gym is great. It gets people moving, but why are we working out to begin with? It's for our health, it's for fitness. It's to go outside and use our bodies that we've strengthened to outside and enjoy the things we really love to do. Gym, you can love the gym, but at the end of the day, it's like the gym is only an hour, 2 hours of your day. What happens to the other 24 hours of your day? How are you present in those moments? Are you just going to go to the gym and then you're going to be sedentary the rest of the day? Well, I would say that's kind of an unhealthy balance. Or you don't have to go to the gym and just have an active lifestyle, and your body's going to result, because you're moving in all these different positions. You know, you're having to adapt to life. You're having to adapt to an object, rather than just a gym where everything's perfect, 90 degrees and it's right. So let's move the body in organic ways, and let's figure out how we can, you know, include, there's no upper body and lower body day. Like you think about it, if you're doing a squat, your upper body's fully engaged in that squat, your back squat, you're fully engaged. You're not just working your legs, so your upper body's not going to sleep. So let's incorporate those movements throughout the day, you know?
Yeah. I had someone on the podcast about a week ago, I think. And she was like, basically like, even if you like drink a lot of water in the morning, just by drinking water to make you go to the bathroom, which will make you get up and walk around, right? So simple as that, you know, can improve your health, you know, just drinking water.
Yep, definitely. Definitely.
So Daniel, tell the story of you like climbing trees with no shoes on, no shirt on, and had to ask, well, people looking at you like, who's this nutcase, like with no shirt on the tree, and how did you react to that? Because I know that to give you some stares.
Absolutely. When I was, working in a corporate environment, something inside of me told me that I needed to be outside. Like being inside in the day with these artificial lights, it just zapped my energy. And I'm like, what's going on? And then being around other people, and again, it goes to the mindfulness about it. Like they're just sitting at their computer, they're doing their work, they're going to coffee, they're drinking their coffee, they're sitting, and then they go to lunch and they're sitting there and they're not leaving the office, and they've never seen the sunlight in 8 hours. And especially during the wintertime when there's less sun, what does that do to the body? Like the body actually is not fully expressing its hormones. It's, you're not releasing dopamine from the sun. It's, the sun gives us dopamine. It feels good. You don't have to really tell somebody that sun feels good. You go outside, and people go outside when it's sunny, it's one of those things. So yeah. So basically my day was, I would try to get outside and I'd move as much as I could throughout the day. So I was at a data entry job. So I'm doing this data entry, but I'm like moving, I'm like sitting, like, I'm sitting on one knee, I'm stretching, I'm constantly moving, because a lot of people, we work in these 90-degree angles. Like how often does our life require us to lift over our head? Life is pretty easy right now. You have a dishwasher, you can just do this. You don't have to put you don't have to really move a lot anymore, because life has been so like, here's where I need to move from. And then the body's going to adapt. Oh, we don't need this range of motion. Okay. So then, things start getting tighter, yeah.
Yeah. Let me move this real fast.
Sure. Am I talking fast? So. Okay. Yeah, my movement.
And one thing I think has lost a lot of people, like all these modern conveniences, like electricity, dishwashers, they're not that old, right? They're maybe at the most 100 years old, right? So you go back to like 1825, like people were outside, walking, building barns, maybe eating one meal a day. So all lifestyles changed a lot. Some for the better, and of course, some for the worse, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it goes down to the balance. Like, yes, life is easier now, but by making it easier, there's a lot more people that are sick. There's a lot more people that have, injuries to their bodies. And unfortunately, the sad thing is kids nowadays, like when we were kids, we were running around, climbing trees, we were like jumping fences, you know what I mean? And nowadays you try to get a kid to do that and they're scared, and they're like 9 years old. And it's like, whoa, like why are you scared to go over this thing? Like you're only this tall, and you'll bounce back.
Yeah.
But it's a mindset shift, and it goes down to inactivity. If they're not doing it, if they don't have the right supportive environment to try new things, then they just become comfortable. And it's quite sad to see. Like I've been working with kids. I'm like, we're going to do a hip hinge, which is, like basically just hinge forward and come back up. And they're bending their spine. They don't have any of the spinal strength to actually keep their body in alignment to do that movement. And it's quite sad, because we don't know what they're going to be like when they get older,
Yeah, I had my nephew here last summer, a couple of weeks. I live in DuPont, Washington, and it's like right on Puget Sound.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part, like it's a pretty steep trail, right, to go down. And of course, you have to do the rope, right? It took me a while to convince him he could do it, right? He was like, I can't, I'm not doing that. It's too dangerous. Like I'm going down. Either you stay here until I come back like in 2 hours, or you come with me.
Yeah.
And he finally did it. Like,
isn't that so interesting? Just like we're like, like going back to like where you were and where we were when
I was a kid, I would like jump the opportunity. Yeah. I would like
all that stuff.
Jumping down. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I literally set up a trampoline in my house just so I could practice my flips when I was a kid, and like set the mattress out, and I was just like doing all these kind of things. Have you heard the study about how they say people being sedentary is similar to people that have been chronic smokers?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Isn't that so? It's sad, but it's interesting to think about. And I think a lot of people need to actually think about that more.
And like how many people like they'll wake up in the morning, eat some breakfast, like of donuts and coffee. They'll walk from the garage to the car, drive their like 30, 40 minutes to a job, walk from the parking lot to the elevator, go to the 8th floor, walk maybe 50 feet to the desk, stay in the desk all day long, overeat, so they have to leave the desk and then come back home, do the same thing over and over again, right? And then they wonder why they're overweight. They wonder why they're out of breath. They wonder why, all these health stuff, right?
Exactly. And then but they have look around and they have what they need. They have like all this thing, they have these things,
Yeah.
that they think they need to be healthy.
I could be wrong. I might be totally make this up, but I almost I remember there's a study done, or maybe not a study, but something was done like on Roman history, and that like when they do like the not the autopsies, like when they pull the bodies from over Roman time to do the studies, that they're like cell genetics based ours right now. Like so, basically, how we live now, how the Romans lived, they had the heart disease, and basically like Romans are like had a superpower of the world, had everything handed to them, right? So based on like not genetics, like blood count, whatever you want to call it, scientific stuff, like we're matching them as far as health is, which is kind of amazing.
This day and age, right? Yeah. We're playing the same patterns in history for sure.
So are you still climbing trees and no shoes on, no shirt?
Absolutely, and that's why I moved to Mexico. I was living in this Bay Area. Like you said, people would look at me like, why is this weirdo doing with his shirt off, his shoes off, and he's climbing trees and poles and
or at least the Bay Area, you probably got some like, okay, this is the Bay Area, it's normal here. Can imagine you like, I don't know, like, Dallas, Texas, or, Memphis, Tennessee, or,
True. And I had a small crew of people that were cool with it and they understood it and they could get it. But most people were just like, what's this weirdo doing? And like, but to me, it's like, and then that got me into climbing. And it's like, when you climb, there's more than just a physical aspect of it. There's a mental aspect of it. So you talk about the mind, body, and balance.
Can I make this next step?
Can
like,
you,
man, that's too far from me. Do I jump to get there, or?
And so what's happening in your brain? You're problem solving. So literally you're turning your body into a puzzle. Like, okay, here's the object. Here's my challenge. Here's the goal. Everybody has the same goal, but we put the different body into it. And maybe I can reach farther than you can. So you have to figure out and adapt. Like, okay, I have to use my legs more.
Yeah.
Or so climbing to me is one of those things where it's a unique experience and it does so much more than just the physical aspect of it.
Or maybe if I go that way, it's going to take me 2 hours. If I go this way, it's only 30 minutes, what should I do? So talk about your move to Mexico, and you had an event business down there, right?
I did. Yeah. So I moved to Mexico because there was an opportunity in.
And what part of Mexico were you in?
Sure. So I moved to a town called Sayulita, Mexico, and I had been there 2 times prior. And it just so happened I had a really close friend that had property there. And he put it this simply to me. He said, you can try this move out for 5 months. And if you like it, you'll find a way to stay. Or you can go back to where you're from and you can figure it out. And that simply, I was like, I don't want to live with regret of not knowing if I ever took that plunge to move to Mexico and just stayed in that comfortable environment of the Silicon Valley. And I was, following appointments, training people. I was on their time, I was sitting in traffic. And to me, that wasn't what life was about. It wasn't about the fancy house or the fancy car. It was about the lifestyle. And that was more important to me, like the quality food and the community. I felt like also where I'm from, I didn't have a strong enough community of people that were like-minded enough to connect with.
And how long did you do the events business?
So I moved down to Mexico and I started doing some online training. In my training process, I got into like handstands and gymnastics ability because something about it was like, that's a challenging experience. And I want to try that. And I want to learn from that process because I felt I had some injuries and I knew that by actually strengthening my body in a logistical way, I'd be strengthening my shoulders, which were weak, and my wrists, which I broke when I was 12. And so like, let's build your body up through body weight. Let's do it through like a gymnastic approach. And in that process, I learned so much about the journey in my body and building it up that I felt very inspired to want to share that with people and give that back to people. And so I also started, I started teaching classes and I was starting to do what I called an event called Travel and Train. Literally, come to Mexico, you hang out with me. We're going to do some workshops, but we're also going to explore a little bit too. I'm going to take you to my favorite restaurant and we're going to meet the chef. Or we're going to do an experience down there in Mexico, which is called a Temazcal, and it's a sweat lodge. And you want to talk about a strong mental, fortitude. You're in this environment with people that you don't know. They're speaking a language you don't understand. And you're in a hot environment and there's people supporting you. And you just have to calm the mind and trust that you can do this.
What's the advantage of doing that sweat lodge?
Well, there's a lot of things that are that happen. A lot of it's circulation. You're moving a lot of energy, you're circulating, you're releasing a lot of toxins in that process. But also it's the mindset. And it's the mindset of just being able to handle an environment like that where you want to get out of there as fast as possible. Like you feel like your hair is going to burn off your head. You're struggling, but it focuses you just take one moment at a time, focus on your breath. Everybody's doing this together, and you start singing songs and you don't know what you might not know what they are, but it just feels right. And you're like, and you just focus on the songs. Like, I'm just going to sing the song. I don't know what it is. I'm just going to sing it. I'm going to sing it. And it just feels right. And before you know it, you're like super close to somebody. They're all sweaty. You're not thinking about, oh, I'm sweaty, I'm gross, like stay away from me. You just start falling on people, and it's a big community, and it's just a very healing environment.
So almost like a sauna on steroids.
Yeah, it's a sauna for about 2 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and but then also you learn about the culture, and you learn about why they do it this way. And in each, they call them seasons. Like the year, you go through different. They share different medicine, different plants that go in the water, and they put that over these rocks that they gather. And there's a certain amount of rocks, and you welcome the rocks, and then the rocks are they call them the grandfathers and the grandmothers, and these are the ancestors because they're teaching you so much. These are the teachers of the rocks, and you put that water on there and it creates the steam, and that creates the heat.
So what part of Mexico is this?
Sayulita, it's about an hour north of Puerto Vallarta.
Okay, so that's where John's at, right?
Yeah, yeah, he's in that area, exactly.
Yeah. So talk about being a movement coach and the points of flexibility and movement.
Sure. It goes down to, like you talked about earlier, of like our society of like we've lost that ability to move because we don't have to really move, and the body's just going to adapt. And what I found when I was teaching people is they were tight in their shoulders, but it was more than just their shoulders. There was actually deeper levels of layers. So it was actually an emotional blockage. Like they actually didn't feel confident to put their arm up over their head, to actually support their weight in their arms because they didn't feel strong enough because of something happened. So while we're opening up the body, while you're actually teaching the body to slowly open up, you're actually releasing a lot of blockages. And I like to say, like, the nervous system is like the overprotective mother. She's not going to let you cross the street if she doesn't feel comfortable with you crossing the street by your own. And that's the same way the body works. Like for some people doing this, it's very painful because the body says, I don't want to be up there. I don't have the strength to support my arm in this position. So you're not going to be able to have full control over that position. So you have to give the body the stimulus so that it feels comfortable, just like you would nurturing a child or something.
So you might not know this, but you probably do. You happen to know what percentage of people can actually do a handstand? I would think it has to be pretty low.
It's pretty low. Yeah, I honestly don't know. And the handstand was more about something as learning. It was less about the trick of what you get in the handstand. I always tell people when I teach workshops is you're going to learn so much about yourself and your body than you will of just achieving. If I got you to do a handstand today and you could walk out of here and do a handstand, but by learning to adapt and learning to challenge yourself through the process, you're going to learn so much about your body. Like you're going to start here in your strength, and we're going to strengthen you here and here and here and here and here. And eventually you can support your body weight like this. And then you're not going to use your muscles, you're using your bones. You're stacking your bones. And so it's actually more an efficient process. You're getting a lift, you're getting anti-gravity type effect, which is the opposite of weight bearing effect. And you're using the internal structures of the body to create that stability.
So that's why you can see, like, so you see people all sizes doing handstand, like big people, small people. Mm-hmm. So it's because it's based on bones and not muscles.
Reality, yeah, everybody
Okay.
can do a handstand, it's also about the confidence too. It's about when you stack the bones. If we were just to stand up, we could stand up all day long because we're stacking our bones. But let's say, okay, let's bend our arms. Let's bend our legs. And let's see how long we can stand. So now we're using our muscles and it's not as efficient, right? We're going to eventually get tired. Our legs are going to shake. We're going to get that burning sensation. But if we just stand up normally, we can stand there all day long.
So I guess in life it's like mental then.
It's mental and about body awareness, because when you're upside down, everything's backwards. So if I were to talk to you and say, I want you to bring your foot, forward or backwards, you're like, what does that mean? Forward or backward to you, forward or backward to me. I'm upside down. So you have to be actually very limited in your cues, because the body can understand, because you're upside down. Everything's a little bit off kilter than normal reality.
So let's say someone hasn't stretched like forever.
Mm-hmm.
What's some basic exercises they could do to get started?
Sorry, what was the question?
So someone is like never like has not stretched a long time, they're not flexible. What are some simple stretches they should start out doing?
I think a basic one would just be a forward fold. Like, let's just take let's take the weight of the upper body and the head and the neck, and let's just fold forward, and let's let the weight of gravity assist that. And then all you have to do is just focus on your breathing. And each time you breathe and each time you relax, you're actually going to go a little bit deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper. And in that process, what I would recommend too is I would actually tell you, let's actually massage your feet first, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with the fascial system of
Not
the body.
Really. No.
So a lot of people are focused on muscles, right? Like there's over 700 muscles of the body. There's biceps, triceps, pecs, da da da. It's a lot of information, and it's not that important to know all these different muscles. But what's important is we have a fascial lines, which is the way our bodies are connected. And this goes back to the conversation of people are disconnected from their bodies. So if we can start to understand how, if I have a headache and if I massage the bottom of my feet, I'm shifting the tension in my body, kind of like, those pajamas that you wear, the footy pajamas. If you pull on the back of the pajama, the whole front's going to lift, right?
Yes.
Because you're connected. The body's the same way. So if you think about that, if you change the tension of the bottom of the foot, there's a line of tension. There's a line how the body integrates and works together of the fascial system that goes all the way up and around into our forehead.
Is there a minimum amount of time per day you should be stretching?
It's about whatever you can do consistently. Everybody's different. And if you have a busy lifestyle, I think stretching it's not just about stretching, it's just movement. I would say moving is a lot better than just stretching. Stretching can be like, I'm tight, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Again, it's mindless, right? Mindless. But if I actually stretch, I'm like, okay, what happens if I actually open up and I change my head position? Now I'm going a little deeper. I've just changed the whole movement. We're still quote unquote stretching, but now I'm more mindful about it. So I'm actually able to get more information. My body's going to be like, oh, that feels nice. That feels really nice. And I think a lot of thing is the body has this innate intelligence within us if we allow to listen to it. So if you're like stretching, like, I'm just tight, and you're thinking about it like, man, okay, 30 seconds, I'm waiting. This isn't helping. This isn't working, and then it'll be like, okay, let's just turn the brain off. Let's be like, okay, let's put a breath into that movement. You've lengthened the tissue, and then let's exhale. Oh my gosh. I've actually stretched a little deeper than I have if I was actually thinking about waiting for that time to switch. So it's about mindfulness. And it's more movement. I'd say movement is better than stretching.
Daniel, talk about how you taught yourself how to do media in the media company you started.
That's a really interesting story. I had no interest in really media. I was literally, here I am, I'm, doing these retreats and doing, classes, but I don't have an audience to tell people. So, it's important for me to actually create and learn this ability to tell these stories and tell people about, come to Mexico with me. This is an amazing opportunity. We're going to do things you've never done before. We're going to go to these beaches. But if I don't have an audience, then how can I get people to come down there? So I put it out there and I said, I want to learn what it feels like to look at the world through the lens of a photographer or a videographer. And so it just so happened, I met this guy and he gave me a camera. So I'm like, oh my gosh, here's a camera. Wow. Okay. So I started to learn. I started to pick it up a little bit and I started to just look at life a little differently. And just so happened, I found really good mentors. I think there's that saying, like when the student's ready, the mentor shows up or the teacher shows up. I've been so fortunate to find mentors that have been very, very high level in their position, that they've been able to share that knowledge with me. And I feel like me, with my experience and my background of health, I want to share that with other people too. I want to be that mentor to other people to help pass that forward. So my business partner, Darren, he's an amazing videographer. He had his own Canadian broadcast show. He's been, interviewing people in X Games. He's been author of a mountain book. So he's been coaching me along the way of telling me how to present myself in a way and become a better orator. Because Jason, I was so shy when I was younger. Like, there's no way I could have done this. If you asked Daniel when I was in high school, I would have been like on the wall and I would have been like, hi, you know what I mean? It's a totally different experience. And so he's been very graceful. He's been a good challenge though. He's definitely taught me, don't go through the motions. Don't just do it just to do it. Like, do it and do it right and make it look really good and be proud of it.
Daniel, talk about two-part question: the importance of storytelling as an entrepreneur and how you're teaching yourself to get better at storytelling.
Everybody has a story. We're all unique. We're all human beings. We're all sharing this human experience, and we can learn so much from people. And it's about how well can you share what you have and it's about sharing. How well can you offer that to other people and enhance their experience? And for us and our company, it's unique because my business partner and I, it comes from our deep connection to nature. We both, he's from Canada. He moved to Mexico 15 years ago. I'm from the Bay Area. I moved to Mexico 6 years ago. And here we are in the same place, in the same part of the world. And we're passionate about doing something together. And so I was able to learn from him. He taught me. I made so many mistakes. Darren, you remember all those mistakes I made? Oh my gosh. Like he just rattled me so much. But, mindset and failing 1,000 times learning the handstand has taught me, keep showing up. It's okay. You're going to get this. You're going to get this. Those mistakes are going to be lessons that you're going to move forward to, and you're not going to make the same mistakes again. And so my background with that mindset approach, and also Darren coaching me and being hard on me, has been a great way to build up my my skill set. And now with the media aspect of it, I feel like I have a golden key to this world. Like, I can literally show up with a camera and we can have a conversation with somebody who might not be accessible, just because we have a camera, and we can actually have like a conversation and ask intelligent questions and pull out information for people to help share that with other people.
Talk about this. I think it's a challenge even for me now, right? Like, even for extroverts, a lot of extroverts out there, they talk a lot, but once you put a camera in front of them, it's a game changer, right? Mm-hmm. Talk about how you got to have a different mentality to speak in front of a camera, because everyone can't do it. Even if I know extroverts are like, they become introverts when they see the camera, right?
They can be. And yeah, exactly. And it's when you actually look at yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, so that's how I look like. Or that remember when you hear yourself for the first time, you're like, that's how I sound. Uh-oh. So, yeah, practice, just like everything's practice. It's a skill set. We talked earlier. Like, I was like, how nervous were you? How were you like when you did your first podcast? You told me, oh my gosh, I was so nervous. But look at you now. You're so comfortable. You have confidence, and we're having this great conversation. And I can't tell like where you were at when the very first time you had a conversation on the podcast.
So I've said this on my podcast before, and I actually do this. It's actually kind of a joke. Like 10 minutes before someone's supposed to show up, someone beside me, hope Daniel doesn't show up today. Hope Daniel doesn't show up. Hope the guest doesn't come. I hope they cancel. So I have to do this, right? Because all the doubts, right? My voice sounds like crap. This ain't set up right. That ain't set up right, But as soon as we sit down, it's like, okay, I got this. It's comfortable. But every podcast, anytime I publicly speak, like 10 minutes before, sure, there's like all that stuff comes in your mind.
Oh yeah. I mean, right now I'm on the road traveling. So every time I leave a house or leave a location, do I have everything? Because I can't go back and get it, like going back to media. If I forget the batteries on our audio recorder, we're screwed. Yeah. A simple thing with audio, like we got the cameras, we got everything, drone, batteries are charged, but I forgot the batteries on the audio. We have no audio. Or
maybe something's not plugged in all the way, or you just never know, right?
Didn't push record. All this.
I've done that before. Yeah.
oops,
Yeah.
like, can we do that again?
Yeah.
But you have to be you have to confident, like, okay, and just play it off. And yeah, but storytelling. So right now it's about telling our story, like we're at a place now where the company is like, let's tell our story. We have a unique story that can inspire other people who maybe they want to start their own business, but they've never done it before because they're scared. I've never done it before. My business partner's never done it before, but I just know and trust that I'm doing what I need to be doing. And I know that things are going to continue to align no matter where I go. And it's a purpose. I'm living my purpose. I'm living my passion. I got into health to share and help people. And now with creating the company of Salus, we can actually share and help more people by doing these conversations, by creating a product that can actually help somebody internally, so then they'll feel better externally.
So how are you telling your story? You doing podcasts, on social media? Like how you getting the story of your company out there?
So we're just basically, we started, in Mexico, one person at a time. And then we do these events, and, it's literally growing organically, just how it needs to happen. And I'm just trying to be as active as I can on social media. But one of the things I like doing is I like connecting people. I really like being a part of the connection process. Like, oh my gosh, like I know you. And then if you're like, I'm already thinking of people that I'd love to have you to interview on your podcast, like that's the kind of things
Yeah.
I love to do. And it's about sharing and getting involved with other people's networks, like we're starting from scratch basically, and we're having to grow. And it's like, you have an audience, let's grow together. Let's do something together. Like, why does it have to be just us versus you?
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's the way to do it, is collaboration and growing together. And our overall theme is share health. Like literally just share health. That's what we want to do, is like we're having this conversation, you're sharing information for your audience.
So Daniel, you talk about how you met your business partner, co-founder in Mexico. Of course, it takes more than being in the same location to become business partners and start a business together.
Yep.
Can you talk about the process, how y'all met, how you decided to do business together, and everything involved with that?
Absolutely. So going down to Mexico, I was the handstand guy. So here I am, this blonde guy, don't wear a shirt, don't wear shoes. I'm doing handstands everywhere. And I felt I was more than just a handstand guy. So I needed to actually drop the ego of being the handstand guy and shifting to more. I just knew I would do more than just help people to do a handstand, and that's what I enjoyed most. So I met Darren a number of times, and there was this one time on the beach where we were chatting. He was actually there. His kids were spearfishing, and his daughter was swimming in the ocean. He was just watching them and just enjoying it. And I was down there just moving my body. And I like at sunset, I enjoy just getting outside and doing sunset. And we had these conversations, and he's like, I have this idea. I want to do this story where literally you're just going to walk up, you're going to do a handstand, and then and that's it. And I'm going to create a video, and it's going to be, I do handstands because, and then it'll be like, Daniel can talk about handstands. I was like, cool, sounds good. And then it evolved into something deeper than that. So we went to this place outside of where we live, and it's going back to the word of culture. And in Mexico, there's a lot of culture there. This place has been known for the indigenous community to be like a sacred place, like a sacred, ceremonial place, like a burial, a place where they can connect to like a higher realm. And it's called Altavista, and it's these beautiful rocks that are literally just look like they're been carved, like somebody literally carved them out of clay. And there's beautiful, crisp, clear water there. And he's like, let's go here. We're going to do this video. You're going to do your stuff. He calls it my movement, weird guy stuff, like bendy, stretchy stuff, right, Darren? Bendy, stretchy stuff. And I was like, okay. And that was the first time we did a video, and there was no script, there's no nothing. And just literally we showed up, we did a video together, and was like, well, I want to do this thing. I want to basically, I'm okay with being in front of the camera as long as it means that somebody's going to be inspired to either get in the best shape of their life or get connected to nature. And I put that intention out there in this video and in this session. And he's like, well, I want to do this thing. I want to tell stories of people doing rad stuff. And I want to tell people inspiring stories. And he has the tool set to do it. And I have the tool set and the ability to be in front of camera. So like, let's create our own media company, and let's work with sustainable brands. Let's not work with the big companies. Let's work with people that we can grow together, and let's, film commercials for them, and we'll do our own branding. And he's like, that sounds great. I don't want to do any of the communication, email. I'm really bad with that stuff. I just know that's not my thing. And I realized early on, I was like, fine, I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes, because again, the mentor, I saw it, Darren. I'm like, he has some things that I want to learn. I want to be a part of this experience. I enjoy this life experience, and I want this to be my lifestyle. And so I was hitting, I opened up my network, and I was starting to hit people on email, and we got a few gigs, nothing major, but I learned so much about that process. And again, I had to show up every day, and I wasn't getting paid, but I just knew deep down inside that that was what I needed to do. And also, I was able to observe that Darren is an amazing creative genius when it comes to storytelling. Like, he has the ability to connect dots in a way that I've never met before, and visually project how it's going to work, like almost in the future. It's an amazing gift he has. So every time I ask him, hey man, can you check your email? Can you do this? It's pulling him out of that creative space where he's very, that's where his element is, and into more of an analytical brain space where he's having to make that shift. And then maybe he can't get to that same creative space. So working with a creative like Darren has taught me a lot about, it's hard to be creative all the time, right? And so he needs to be, I just need to take on the stuff that he doesn't want to do, because he has skill sets and assets that we need to maximize.
Can you talk about this 1% for the planet give back that your company does?
Yeah. So early on, this actually goes down to before, we're reluctant entrepreneurs. Literally, when we decided to start a company, we wanted to start a foundation. We literally wanted to teach people how to grow their own food in the different cultures of Mexico with the most nutritious foods available. So in Mexico, there's a plant called moringa. It's known as the miracle tree. It has all these, the perfect ratio of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, very high in protein. Actually, you can take the seeds and you can put it in water, and it actually can filter out water. So it's an amazing resource. And like, well, let's plant these trees all the way through the community. And I was like, okay. So I started researching about other nutritious foods, and I was like, well, let's grow spirulina, let's grow spirulina. Let's put spirulina. Let's teach people how to grow the spirulina. Then they can create their own economy around what we teach them. And then they can offer that community with more nutritious foods, because people are so nutrient deficient and they don't know it. And it's actually pulling them back from their potential. So we wanted to basically do a give back. And so we reached out to some of the top spirulina companies and said, this is what we want to do. If you have a budget, we'll do this. We'll go, we'll teach them how to grow. We'll film the whole thing. We'll interview them. We'll tell the story, and you'll get great publicity for your brand. And we couldn't find anybody. We couldn't find anybody that wanted to join forces and do something like that together. So we said, okay, well, we're going to have to do this together. And so that's literally like, okay, we're going to have to start our own company, because we can't find anybody that wants to do this with us.
I remember hearing and reading somewhere that even the US, with all the food we have, like average person in America is like 28%, 30% are probably more deficient on like basic nutrients and vitamins.
How about 92% people are micronutrient deficient?
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
And micronutrients is one of those things where it leads to so many other future diseases that people are facing with today, because they're not taking care of the micronutrients. Our society is focused on macro, right? We're focusing on whatever. You could talk about fitness, how much you can bench, how much you can squat. What about my foot? If I didn't take about my foot health, my micro muscles of my feet, then my body wouldn't be strong enough so then I could run barefoot. So you can take that into perspective about your health. If you're not taking care of your micronutrients, then your body is not fully maximizing the macronutrients.
And it's even worse if you live in a poor community, like inner city, poor community, because around the corner might be like a 7-Eleven, liquor store. And then the prices in those poor neighborhoods, like, Apple might be, I'll make this up, of course. Apple, in a like a regular neighborhood might be $5, but the poor neighborhood like $8, $9, right? So what are you going to do? Spend money on an apple for $9, or go buy, 3 cheeseburgers to feed the whole family for $7, right?
Exactly. Exactly. It's so sad. And so going back to 1% of the planet, Darren and I made an impact. We're like, we want to support those communities with the most nutritious food available. Like you just talked about the inner city community. We want to go to downtown Seattle where there's a homeless population and maybe there's a community garden, and let's give them the best fertilizer they have so they can put their fertilizer on their food so they can raise their nutrient sufficiency up for the food. So now it feeds the community. We wanted to create that ripple effect of inspiration and positivity to reach more than just one or two people. And so at 1% of the planet is we are doing the fertilizer aspect of it. And also we want to nourish the people with our products that are protecting the planet. So the people that are out there cleaning up the oceans, or the people that are out there, after big fires, we want to nourish those people with our products and give them the energy they need to put the energy and passion to what they want to do.
So the name of the nonprofit is actually 1%, right?
1% of the planet, correct?
So how do they decide what 1% they give all this stuff to?
It's our decision.
Okay.
And so actually, I've been in talks with a farm in Portland. It's called Kindness Farms. And I found out about it through a news channel. I don't usually watch the TV, but I was staying at my brother's house, sleeping on the couch. And this article came up, and it was about this farm called Kindness Farms. And they grow food just so they can give it to the people that can't afford good quality food. So we're going to be donating portion of our proceeds, the 1%, to nourish the people that are volunteering their time and energy to put love and energy into this food so then it can feed the other people in the community that can't afford good food.
How much do you know about food waste? I think there's a lot of food waste going on, especially in the United States.
I don't know a lot. That's not something I really focus on, but yes, there is a lot of food waste. And I think living in a society at a place like, for instance, Mexico, where things are very simple, like, you go to the store and you buy an egg and an avocado, and how much waste are you going to have from that meal, right? And so like when you actually think about it, it's like, do you really need all this plastic? Do we need plastic around our bananas at the grocery store just so our bananas are together? Like, there's got to be a better way than that. Or do we really need to cut all the watermelon up and put it in plastic and sell it? It's really sad how plastic is in everything. And so in the journey with Darren, we started the media company, right? And now we're getting into an environmental movement. There's a woman down here in Sayulita, and she's very passionate about the environment. But she's to the point where she's going to basically, if you had plastic there, she would come up to you and she'd grab that plastic and she'd dump the water off your head, like, what are you doing, plastic, And so literally she would like yell at people for styrofoam. And in that culture, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So if you have a plastic bottle or a styrofoam thing, you eat it, you're done with it. What are you going to do with it? You're going to throw it on the ground. That's just how it is. So we're going to this beautiful place in nature, and you're like, why is there styrofoam here?
Yeah.
And I started to, so this process was like, okay, so why are humans doing this? Why are we doing this? And I started to ask my friends, and they're like, what's the culture like in Mexico? It's like, well, like I said, if you have something, you're done with it, you get rid of it. And that works fine if you're using paper and organic materials. But when we started introducing styrofoam and all these things that don't compost, then you have a big problem. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not going away. But they're just like, okay, well, whatever. And also humans are not wired for future threats. We're wired for the immediacy. So if there's a tiger behind you, you're focused on that. You're not focused about what happens if you go walk off the street and God forbid you sprain your ankle. You're not thinking about that right now, And so we started doing these beach cleanups. And in around like September, when the big rains come in Mexico and it floods down the river, and all that water and waste from these rivers go right into the ocean, it leaves so much trash. And so there was a day where I actually was cleaning up one beach in Sayulita, and they went to my business partner's place in San Pancho, which is about 10 miles away. And we just decided we're going to go clean up the river, because we knew that if we clean up the river at that moment, it's not going to go into the ocean. And so we were the two gringos, you could say, two guys that give a shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. So two guys that really care, and we're like carrying these bags of trash. We actually have some good video of that. And literally people are watching us. Nobody offered to help. Nobody said, we appreciate what you're doing. We're like, what are these gringos doing? What are these guys doing? Why are they doing this? And then we got to think like, why are people not wanting to help? Experience, I started to understand that people are not, you need to take care of the environment, internal environment, before you take care of the external environment. And people themselves are disconnected from their body, and they're not happy, and they're not nourishing themselves. So when you feel good inside, you're going to want to feel and continue that feeling, be motivated to continue that outside. So here we are, we feel great, we're nourished, we're living the lifestyle, we're surfing, we got up with the sun, and these people are depressed and they're sloping around and they're like not eating proper nutrition because their bodies are literally walking around. Like, imagine having flat tires in your car. How far are you going to get? You're not going to feel very efficient. You're not going to want to do a lot with that, with your car, if they have flat tires, right? So so that was a big moment where like, okay, well, we need to, in order for us to actually make a change, for people to want to pick up that piece of trash, we need to support them nutritionally, so that way they'll be motivated to want to do that and say like, I feel great, this is a beautiful place, I want to keep it beautiful, right? And that's a future threat, because that plastic's gonna go in the ocean and blah 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 blah. We all know what that happens there.
So Daniel, what's your point of view on this? Do you think the environment's too far gone, like we've lost that battle, it's going to get worse and worse, or can we still make positive change, take the climate back to where it's supposed to be at?
I believe we're in a cycle. I truly believe we're in a cycle, and it's an opportunity to, every time you see and hear like the horror stories of the environment, it's the universe like shining a mirror in your face of like, okay, oh, can we do better? I think we can. And I think if everybody just does a little bit better and focuses on doing something that's forward thinking and not just doing the normal and of playing the same program, then we can make a change. But do we need to completely change our whole lifestyle around it, and everybody needs to quit work and everybody needs to go to protests
and go back to the 1500s and no electricity, no bathrooms? I don't think anybody wants that. Well,
no,
I don't think most normal people don't want that anyway.
no. So I believe we're in a cycle, and I believe that there's enough people that are waking up and understanding that we can do better. And I think that that's going to create that ripple effect that's going to change and going to get people to make this place a better place, because life is pretty beautiful, especially around here in Seattle, and life is abundant. There's a lot of green going on, and you want to keep that as long as possible.
So Daniel, talk some about natural medicine versus man-made medicine.
There was a moment when I was doing the traditional health, you have to get this physical and that physical. And I went to a doctor, and he said, your cholesterol is very high, and your breathe rate, your breathing's very low. And I'm like, okay. He's like, are you like a runner? Are you this, are you that? I'm like, no, I'm just active, and I eat a lot of fatty foods. And what happened was he just looked at one number on the cholesterol. He didn't look at the total wall, like, the ratio. And the ratio was actually good, because I don't know if you know much about cholesterol. There's two different numbers, and there's a good fat and a bad fat. My good fat was double the normal recommended rate. So if you did the ratio, it was actually in a good ratio, but he looked at the total number. And so he said, you have high cholesterol, I should put you on a cholesterol medication. I was like, seriously? Cholesterol medication because I have the right fat? And so at that moment, I questioned the whole pharmaceutical side of things. I questioned all that, the current state of the healthcare. And I said, I want to take responsibility for my body and my health. Thank you. I don't,
but I'm pushed back. How many people actually do that though? Not many.
Not many, because we've given our responsibility to other people. We trust a doctor more than we trust our internal innate wisdom about taking care of our body. You know more about your body than your doctor's ever going to know about you. Your doctor sees for 15 minutes, you tell him some symptoms. He's going to go ahead and do his algorithms, and he's going to be like, okay, I think it's this, based on the data he grabs. But it's like, well, no, actually I just had a stressful event. I haven't been sleeping and all these other things. And it's like, and I haven't been eating,
What if the doctor does ask you the right questions and you forget to say something that's important? It's 15 minutes, there's only 15 minutes.
Exactly. So natural medicine to me is about taking care of the whole body, because these natural medicines work at a deep level with the pituitary gland, which is the master hormone regulator of our bodies. And our bodies are literally hormone machines. We're literally chemical machines. We have dopamine, you have serotonin. And so literally when you take care of the hormone, the source, your body's going to change in ways. I call it, they're called adaptogens. Like these herbs kind of fall in this category of adaptogens, where literally imagine a mechanic would go through your body and like tweak this and say, oh, we need to top off. You're a little dehydrated. Okay. So we're going to, we're going to pull some water out of your kidneys, for instance, or we're going to pull some water out of your cells and we're going to give it here. We're going to shunt some blood here. Oh, you injured your shoulder. Okay. We need to give more blood to that area. And then also regulate your liver, and your oxygen level and your alkalinity. And like literally, it's like a mechanic in your body that you don't have to think about. You don't have to be an expert about. And your body's and just the wisdom of the plant and the wisdom of your body work together. And you think about some of these herbs, they've been adapting on this planet for billions of years, depending on which plant you're talking about. So in that process, they've had to learn to grow, protect itself, survive, adapt, so thrive. And you take that wisdom and you put that in your body, and your body starts to be like, oh, thank you. Oh, wow, this feels great. Like all of a sudden, maybe you have high sugar, you have a problem with sugar regulation. And all of a sudden your pancreas is like, oh my gosh, thank you for that chromium, because now I don't have to work as hard to produce insulin. So, there's a lot of things. It's a more of a holistic approach. And going back to, rather than stretching versus movement, it's like the overall totality of the movement. So it's like a movement approach versus a stretching, a flexibility approach to the body and health.
One thing I think about a lot is like how many experiments the human race did in the past, right? Like how many people ate poison ivy before they realized, I don't want to eat poison ivy. Mm-hmm. How many people ate poison mushrooms? Like how many people try to go pick up a rattlesnake, before they realize you might not want to do it. Like, because I mean, think about the human race as a means and probably billions of experience, right? Before we figured out, okay, we might not want to do that,
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you learn from your experiences. And so, yeah, the body is amazing at adapting. Like, honestly, it's incredible what the body can do, even with the worst situation. Like you said, people that don't have proper nutrition, they're still functioning. They're still, they still have a brain. They can still have a conversation with you. Some may not, but yeah, it's amazing how much we can put for our body, and how much we can borrow from tomorrow for today, even though we don't realize we're doing that. But our body's like, okay, this is what has to happen. I need to make this happen. No matter what resources I'm pulling from for tomorrow that we're going to need, I need today. So we're going to give you today.
The human body can survive in extreme heat, extreme cold. I mean, of course, like it's going to suck the first day you're in the extreme cold, but eventually your body gets used to it, right? It kind of adapts and overcomes. It's not going to be pleasant like the thing you were talking about, either like the hot thing you were talking about.
Temazcal.
Yeah, that right there. And it's not pleasant, but if your body gets used to it, right?
Mm-hmm. And living in Mexico, it's humid. The summer, it's like literally walking outside and it's 92 degrees and it's 90% humidity. So literally, it's like walking around a sauna all day long. So imagine, and your body's just going to adapt, because what's happening is your body is releasing toxins in that process from the sweat, and you're not hungry because your body's like, I don't need food. I need to keep cooling down. I don't need to work harder to digest food. I just need to be as efficient as possible in these moments. And granted, when it gets hot, it's siesta time, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. You wake up, you're inspired before it gets too hot. You do your thing, you do your movement, whatever it is you want to do, go surfing. And then daytime, it's peak sun. Let's take a nap. It's fine. Let's let the body rest. And then you wake up and you have a second part of your day, and you can enjoy that day until the sunset. And then it's beautiful weather, So yeah, the body can adapt in extreme environments. And I was fortunate enough to train with Wim Hof. Are you familiar with Wim Hof?
I'm not.
So Wim Hof has coined himself the Iceman. And so literally he has a very, very unique story, but he's figured out a way to use mindfulness, meditation, and breath work to handle his body in extreme environments. I'm talking about like being submerged in ice for hours, and literally like breaking ice in a lake and sitting in there and just going for a swim and doing like 80-meter swim. and like these crazy mental fortitudes that we don't think is possible.
And most people can't handle doing a shower in 72-degree heat, right?
Exactly. Or it's too cold in your hands. You're gonna like you have to warm right away. Or you're gonna warm up the shower before you get in it. So this guy has shown people and inspired people that yes, we can adapt and we can do these things and it's all about the mindset and how bad you want it. And in that process of going into that extreme environment, your body's adapting, right? And you're actually releasing feel good hormones like dopamine. And you're actually like, oh my gosh, like you don't enjoy that moment, but you enjoy the moment afterwards. Sometimes, like you ask somebody who's worked out, it's like, do you ever regret the day you worked out? It's like, no, because I always feel better. But you regret going into the workout, but you never regret how you feel afterwards. And so that's how those experiences can actually motivate you to want to continue to do those and create those into a lifestyle.
Yeah, when I was in the Army, we were stationed in Vicenza, Italy for 2 years. I talk about the siesta lifestyle, like everything's closed from 12 to 3. Restaurants open, right? Everything's closed from 12 to 3. And then you work from like 3, everyone works from 3 to 5. Everyone eats dinner like 7, 8 o'clock, right? Yeah. And it's just a lifestyle. Like you have a glass of wine with dinner, a cappuccino. It's definitely a totally different and better lifestyle, I think.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. And being down in Mexico, I really put that in perspective. Like, for one, like being in the ocean to me has been some of the best experiences I've had, because you're one with the ocean. You don't have anything else.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about your car. You're not thinking about what you're eating. You're not thinking about the bills you have to pay. It's just you and the ocean, that experience. And it's the most minimal experience you could have. And especially if you're catching a wave, like body surfing or surfing, you're just playing in this amazing environment that's you have access to. And then after that moment, you're going to take those feel good hormones and that feel good emotion of catching the best wave of your life, or just catching a wave, and you're going to carry that into your life and your day.
Just the sound of the ocean is so relaxing and peaceful.
Mm-hmm. They've actually done research that just looking at the ocean, the blue of the ocean, actually changes your body and your chemicals to actually calm your body down. And also learning about photography. My friend JP Stones is an amazing photographer. I've learned so much from him. Great mentor. If you look at horizontal lines, they're much more calming to the body than vertical lines are. So the ocean is all about the horizon. And so just looking at that, you're just like, and then you talk about, we haven't talked about this, but taking your shoes off and getting grounded and what that does to you, you're actually feeling the sand underneath your feet. So now your body's getting stimulus outside of these smooth surfaces that we are involved in, we live in, but actually feeling the sand, or maybe you're feeling a shell that's actually touching the bottom of your foot and it actually scratches you a little bit. But again, it's not like, ow, that hurts. It's like, okay, I feel that. And I think more people need to feel more. And one of the things doing ice bath or the extreme environments teach you is you feel it. You feel, nobody can tell you what it feels like, but you go into an ice bath, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it's like, but you're going to feel it. And it doesn't matter how strong you are, how big you are, how much weight you lifted that day. It's an experience for you. You know?
I try to do cold showers, but some days, like, man, I'm not man enough. My mental in here. I do a warm shower. I try my best to do cold showers, not like freezing cold. I handle it like lukewarm, or maybe so cold, but sometimes like, I can't do it. I try my best to do it though.
Sure.
And the health benefits are like all the studies say opens your blood vessels up, do all this scientific stuff that makes your body better.
Exactly. And a lot of people I think are trying to grind through life. They're like they're almost like a robot. Like, I have to do it. Oh, do it. You have to do this. It's like you just said, you just described it perfectly. You're like, no, I just don't feel like today is the right day for that, because what happened yesterday, maybe you're stressed, maybe you were stuck in traffic or got in a car accident and you just feel a little bit off. So why you don't need to put yourself in that environment if you don't want to, and you have control over that. And tomorrow's another day that you can do that. So, don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah. I'm a big believer, like doing experiments, right? Like one thing I've done recently, haven't done in a while, but I'm a big believer in water fasts. I've done a lot of water fasts.
What's the most you've done?
21 days.
Wow.
I did 21-day water fast. It was crazy. Like, of course, the first 3 days always like they suck, right? The first 3 days are horrible, right? But in my experience, once you get day 4 or 5, it's like, to me, I get more focused. I'm not hungry, right? Like day 14, day 15, once the ketosis takes in, you feel the body burning fat, and losing weight. And it's so more focused, right?
Isn't that interesting? And
Yeah.
then you, like you just said, like, what did you learn about yourself in that process? Like you learned, like, were you thinking about food the whole time? And
No. Now, don't get me wrong. There's sometimes where like my wife, and what's driving me crazy, every time I go water fast, everyone in my family will start cooking, right? And one time we was doing water fast, my wife made enchiladas. My Jason made some
oh,
barbecue chicken. My daughter made something else, right? Like you're kidding me, right? Oh, you know water fast? I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Yes, you did.
oh my God, that must
Yeah.
have been torture for you.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it's like it's not as bad as you think. It makes people think it out right. You know, most people can go for like 2 hours like snacking on something, right? And there's a health benefits, like like you said, we're not meant, our digestive system's not meant to eat like every 20 minutes, right? Back in the day, you eat like one big meal a day, right? And maybe 2 or 3 days, right? So I think it's good to give your digestive system a break. I just like doing it because that's the focus it gives me, right? I haven't done it in a while, maybe one for a year, but yeah, I'm a big fan of water fast.
Wow. I just was reading something yesterday about fasting is you really find out who you truly are in that process. Because a lot of times when we're stressed or whatever, and you're eating and you're just like being part of your reality and other people's, you're sharing time with other people, you're not fully connecting with yourself.
Mm.
And so, like you said, we don't realize how much we think about food, like how much mental capacity that's taking in our brain and our body. Like, okay, what am I going to eat? Where am I going to go? What am I going to cook? Okay, like, do I have this in my house? Like, all this mental space that we've taken on our body. And it's like, really? For what? Like, you get home, you'll eat. Or sometimes, like, when I'm traveling and there's food around, and I was like, you know what? I don't need to eat tonight. And it feels so good to know that my body can handle that. And I'll be like, I have to eat. It's 2 hours. I need to eat my protein. I'm losing muscle, like that whole mindset of bodybuilders and eating 6 meals a
Yeah.
day. And I was talking to a bodybuilder, and he was just talking about how he's an older bodybuilder now, and he's shifted. He's like, I eat like 2 meals a day, you know? And so he's wants to start sharing that with other bodybuilders. Like, what if what happens if we actually give our body a little more rest to digest, and then we can eat more? Let's see what happens to the improvement, our physical performance that's going to happen, and we're not going to be constantly grinding through it.
No, but back to the ocean. I think I could be wrong. I think there's some kind of innate thing in us that draws us to the ocean, right? Because I'm totally making this number up, but I think like 50, 60, 70% of the human population lives like 10 miles from the water, I think.
Yeah, it's a good percentage. And it literally it's just an opportunity to shift the day, shift the mindset. I think shifting is like a big thing that people need to start thinking more about. How can we just create the shift of, if you're working from home and you're doing this, how can you change that? Like, oh, I have to do this, I have a deadline, to shift it something to a little bit more positive, like just moving your body for like 5 minutes. I've picked up this practice about the ropes that I really like because it connects the mind, the body together. And so I include that with my ocean time. And living in Mexico, I've really learned to appreciate a sunset. Like literally people go outside and like they're watching a movie and they go outside and watch the sunset together. How many people really do that nowadays, especially in Seattle? You don't see people going to a park and cheering when the sun's going down, and like enjoying life and enjoying the transition from the day to the night. The ocean is powerful, and it can teach you a lot, and it can build a lot of confidence in you. And it's like you said, it just feels so right. It feels so right to be surrounded by that liquid, be surrounded by that, and feeling almost weightlessness.
So
Like,
Daniel, change the subject. What's the process of moving to Mexico? Like you have to get a visa. You have to like, of course, you have to get a passport. You have to like do paperwork and like you have to come back every year to do stuff. And like, how's that work as far as living in Mexico?
yeah, it's a process, and it's just one of, I don't know if you've read the book from Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way.
No.
I just look at these things as obstacles. You can figure it out. I don't stress too much about it. And so, yeah, basically you have to prove that you're making a certain amount of income per month, and you have to go and you have to prove you're making income like for 6 months. It's this range. They just don't want you to be a freeloader and take somebody else's job. And then you come back to States, you get the paper, and you go back to Mexico. And then I was working with a lawyer, and he got me this paper. And then you start at a 1-year residency. And then after you do the 1-year residency, then you go to 3 years. And then after 3 years, then you can move to permanent residency. And so I have permanent residency down there now. So basically that means that, if you were to travel down there, you can only be there for 180 days before you have to return to the States. So I can be down there 5 years now, so I don't have to return back and forth. But
Yeah, I know a good friend, John Neff, recently moved there with his family. His wife's actually from that area you're from. Is there a big, I think it's called expat community down there?
Absolutely. Yeah. There is a big expat community. There's a lot of people that are like-minded, like us, like John and myself and Darren that are others. They got kind of tired of the norm, right? Got tired of the stereotypical, like married with kids and just settle down and have that house and have the things that go with life. And then they're focused on the experience and the lifestyle. So they're down there to have the experience and lifestyle. And also I think a lot of it has to do is to recreate their who they are. Like a lot of times you're Mr. So and so, or you're the CEO of this company, and you go down there and nobody knows who you are. You can just be a guy on the beach that just likes to play the banjo on the beach, and you can do that if you really want to. And you can. That's what I love about Mexico is opportunities are endless. There's nobody telling you can't do anything.
Of course, you and John are big fans of being in Mexico, but are there any cons to moving to Mexico?
Sure, there's just challenges. Life learns. So when I first got down there, there wasn't a good solution for natural healthy foods. So I was living in Sailita and I had to take the bus, which is about 30 to 40 minutes to travel to a supermarket to buy the foods, like the foods I like to eat. Like noodles, like Thai noodles and curry and the things that I enjoyed eating in quality foods. And I had to put a backpack on, like a backpacking backpack on, and I'd take it on the bus and I'd fill up my cart, put it all in the backpack, and then you take the bus home. It's like a 2-3 hour endeavor just to go get food. So yeah, so things just take a little bit longer down there. And the technology is a little bit, they're like 3 years behind. So what's popular here in the States is not quite popular there yet, or it's on the fringe of it. So things are a little behind. Currently, people are still used to paying with pesos and buying things in person. Online community isn't really strong there yet. There's not a lot of e-commerce. It's growing, but it's not quite there yet. So yeah, you have to be patient, things, like they say, things move in Mexican space, like mañana. So it literally is, you can't go there with the mindset of I need to be here at this time. This is schedule. And Mexico
when it happens, it happens.
Mexico's going to be like, not right now, buddy. Maybe tomorrow, and you just have to be able to adapt.
So this is going to be probably a weird question, but how you're in the States, you'll say, let's go get some Mexican food. In Mexico, do they say, let's go get some American food, let's go get some French food? I can't imagine they say, let's go get some Mexican food.
No, let's go get food. Yeah, let's go get tacos. Tacos are a beautiful thing. Simple and like easy, and like, why not? Like it's literally, and I've had an opportunity to have actually learn about the tortilla making. I had an opportunity to stay with a woman, and she taught us how to make our own tortillas. So literally, you're taking corn and she's shucking it with her hands, and this woman has like strong hands.
I can imagine.
And I got to film her, and she's just like, boom, boom. And it's a technique, just like everything else. And I'm trying, and I'm like, it isn't working. I'm trying to use muscles, and it's not working. She's just guys her corn. Look at her. I look at her stack, look at my stack. I'm like, and then we have to soak it, and she cooks it, and then you make the tortillas with it. And she's got literally a rock, and it's like the techniques that they've used for hundreds and thousands of years. And she's teaching me to try to do tortillas, and she's like whipping them out. And I'm like, oh, we're gonna starve if I'm in charge of this dinner tonight, But you really appreciate what a good tortilla tastes like. It's like here, unfortunately, we just buy them out of a bag. You have no connection to where it comes from, right? You're just like, okay, I'm buying from this bag. It's coming from here. I have no idea what factory made this. But in Mexico, I know the person that made this tortilla. I know where the beans came from because I helped pick the beans. And I know where the salsa came from because I chopped up the tomatoes. And when I have that experience, that food experience, I'm going to appreciate that a lot more than going to Taco Bell and ordering a taco.
Yeah, how many people think food comes from Safeway, right? They have no concept of of how the world's connected. They have no concept, because of the war in Ukraine, gas prices rises. Because the gas price rises, diesel fuel costs more, it costs farmers more, and just goes on and on. And most people, why might ribeye steak go from $5 to $8? This is BS,
Exactly.
Like no concept of anything.
Mm-hmm. It's really sad. And I was actually in 2017 was a big year. I decided to travel to Canada and study under a martial art. It's a Russian martial art called Sistema. And I was there for a month, and literally we're training twice a day. in an environment where there's no padded floors. The walls are made of wood. There's open doors and open windows. So you're in this environment. It's in Canada and it's in the cold of winter. And here I am from Mexico, going talk about an extreme like environmental shift. But I learned from this woman who was a medicine woman, and she basically could connect and walk around the forest, and she knew exactly what the ingredients are and how they would work. And she made these solves together. And she literally said, the biggest thing that I can share with you is connect to your food. So if you think about it, like for instance, maybe you have some tea at night, you buy it from a bag, you put it in there. Do you have any idea what kind of, where those leaves came from? Who made it? Like,
no idea, no clue.
But if you actually say, okay, I don't know where this came from, but I'm going to do the research. I'm going to look at it. I'm like, oh, this is what chamomile looks like. Oh, that's kind of cool. Valerian root. Wow, that's pretty flower. And now you're gaining an experience and you're building a deeper connection to next time you have that tea, you're going to know like, oh, wow, okay, cool. I like that. And to me, that kind of wisdom, I think, is inspiring to learn. There's so much out there that we haven't touched and learned about yet.
Can you talk some about, I think it's called Upper Klamath Lake?
Upper Klamath Lake. Yeah. It's where I moved to. So literally here I am in Mexico, beautiful life. You know, you can imagine sunsets, surfing, everything is magical. And we're starting this company and John's down there and we're getting some local organic growth, but we knew for this company to be successful, I needed to come back to the States where I'm from and put in the work and keep showing up every day and take on new challenges and have these conversations and meet. And so Upper Klamath Lakes is where we harvest our product, which is a wild harvested blue-green algae. And if you know anything about algae, it's literally the first organism on this planet. So you think about it, we can all agree that this planet was inhabitable with, it was just carbon dioxide. And so this algae had to absorb the beams from the sun to photosynthesize, to break apart, so it's surrounded by water, to break apart the water molecules to release oxygen into the air.
Have you ever watched a show on Nat Geo called Year Million?
No, I have not.
There's an episode that talks about this, right? It's
Really?
either the Year Million or a show about Cosmos with what's his name, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the scientist, the black scientist. One of those two, that episode where they just talk about this thing, how the algae like made oxygen and it expanded life. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very familiar with this now. Now that I clicked in, yeah. Isn't
that such a beautiful story? And so literally what we have is, and so what makes Upper Klamath Lakes unique is one, this algae grows there, which is a particular species of algae. It's called the Phanazomenon flowers agua, which stands for the invisible flower of the water. Isn't that nice?
Is this the only place in the world that this grows?
It's the only place in the world that it grows. There's other species, a Phanazomenon, that grow in different parts of the world, but a Phanazomenon flowers agua is the only one that grows in this particular species. We'll call it AFA, and it's been coined by a doctor, AFA K2. But what makes Upper Klamath Lakes unique is, have you been to Crater Lakes?
No, I have not.
So Crater Lakes was a volcano, and it was named Mount Mazama. So 8,000 years ago, 7,700, 8,000 years ago, there was a volcano that was about 14,000 feet high. And so it erupted, and all of those volcanic minerals dusted from Oregon all the way to Greenland. So imagine deep volcanic minerals dusting the planet and creating this new environment for this algae to feed on. So you're getting these rare earth minerals, gold, silver, vanadium. Vanadium is really good for your blood sugar. It helps regulate your blood sugar. How amazing is that? And so this algae literally feeds off these minerals. So that way it has the nutrients that it needs. And then we harvest it. And then we bring that into our bodies. And then our bodies know what to do with it because we have all these receptors for these minerals. We have all the receptors. And it's just a matter of we're not getting them because, one, our food supply is unfortunately lacking, and our soils don't have them. And so, but our bodies need them. And so it's important to get those micronutrients.
So will this be the only location that you find this? Is there any fear like you might overproduce, overfarm it, and you're going to run out? Like, how does this stuff come about? Like, does new material get made on a daily basis, or once you run out, you run out?
That's a great question, and I get asked that quite a bit. So algae is the fastest reproducing organism on the planet. So it can literally reproduce in 24 hours. So imagine, it's almost impossible to out harvest. And there's only one particular part on the lake where you can harvest the algae, because the algae is very finicky. It has to have the right amount of sunshine and the right temperature. And so in Upper Klamath Lakes, it's an Oregon, and there's 300 days of sunshine a year. And people are like, what? Oregon's always rainy and cold, and it's 4,000 feet of elevation, and it gets 300 days of sunshine because the algae is attracted to the photons from the sun. And so when we harvest the algae twice a year, you harvest it around the full moon because that's when the light is the strongest.
So this algae, like, do you own the land around it? You have to lease it from the government? How does that work?
No, talking about how, having the skill set of telling stories opened up a door for us. We showed up to Klamath Lakes when we decided this was the product that we wanted to offer, because we felt it had the biggest benefit to help help people out. And we show up with our cameras, and we thought we are going to get in a canoe. We thought we are going to get like an oar, and we're going to take it, and we're going to scoop it up, and we're going to be like, hey, there's the algae. Let's take some photos of it. Let's go to Crater Lakes, and yeah. And then that'll be our mission accomplished. And I was borrowing my parents' truck and camper van, and just so happened we knocked on some doors, and this one company that wasn't very helpful to us, and they're just like, oh no, but they guided us like, oh no, you should talk to these people. So we went down and talked to these people, Klamath Valley Botanicals, and I was like, oh, sounds like a great company. We went and knocked on the door, and we said, oh yeah, we're looking for Shannon is his name. And he's like, oh no, he's not here. He'll be back around 4. And this was like around 12. We're like, okay. So we started driving around the area, came back, and we showed him our products with our branding on it. And he was like, cool. You guys want to go for a boat ride? We're like, yes. So here we are expecting to be on a canoe and like an oar. And this guy takes us on a boat. He's like, all right, guys, like dunk a boat. Let's go. We're going to take these guys out. We're going to show them the lake. So he shows us the lake. We have our cameras. We're interviewing him. Everything's great. We're like, this is magical. This is amazing. Oh my gosh. Like, and he's like, okay, guys, well, where are you guys staying? I'm like, well, we have our truck. We're just going to go find a campground or a hotel. He's like, no, you stay with me. I have that house right across the lake. You're staying with me. And we're like, okay. So here we are. This guy we've never met before. 3 companies on the lake that harvests algae, and we're staying with the guy that's been harvesting algae for 25 years. Talk about mentorship. So now I'm like, we stayed in partnership. We had great relationships, and he loved what we were doing. He loved that we could tell stories. We created a great video talking about the whole harvest of the process. And when we were there, we shot the most amazing shots that he's ever seen of the harvesting process. He's had people come up, over like probably for the last 10 years trying to shoot the harvest. They never get it right because of the weather. Here we are, show up the first time. Don't call him, no appointment. We show up with our cameras, and it's the most perfect, serene environment for shooting. Perfect light. There's no clouds.
So everything is lined up correctly, like perfectly.
Absolutely. And so we stayed in contact, and I told him where we're at. We went to Mexico, and I'm like, I'm coming up there. Is it cool if I stay for a little bit? He's like, stay as long as you want. That was in November. I'm still there. I have the product there for inventory. I'm working with his team right now to help us, build up fulfillment. I have an office there where I can literally stare at the lake right across from me, and I have a room there, and everything is and I have all the algae I can possibly want.
Can you talk some about the process of harvesting the algae and getting to one of your bottles?
Sure, it's a unique process because the cells are so delicate. And there's a plant cell, and then, like plants, you have to digest the cell wall, right? So you need to exert energy to digest that to get the nutrients out of it. This cell wall is called a prokaryotic cell, and this is the first organism on the planet because it adapted so it didn't need a cell wall, so it could actually reproduce faster. And so its cell wall is actually made of omega-3s and fatty acids, which it had to produce to survive the extreme environment. So this is algae has been evolving for 3.5 billion years and has been figuring out how it can survive in these harsh environments. They call it the Arctic desert out there. And so what they figured out is if they can lift the algae out of the lake so they don't disturb the cells, because these cells are very delicate and the nutrients inside are the gold. They can lift it algae out of the lake and they put it on this process and then push it to a barge and then they pump it through membranes. So that way it keeps the cells intact and they drain out the water and they wash it in that process. They can keep the nutrients intact. So once you've harvested it, you have it on your barge, you take it back to shore. You need to get it to dry because right now you have, 3% of its algae, the rest is water. You don't want to be shipping all that water to Utah, which is where they dry it. And they dry it at this special place where they dry it for 4 minutes at under body weight temperature. And do you know what that means? It means the enzymes are intact. So you're eating a live superfood. You're eating a live food. Like if you were to go somewhere, and you were to order something, it's not live. And the body wants live foods. The body needs enzymes. Enzymes are the original they start all the chemical processes in the body. And you need those enzymes. And then also this algae is unique to humans because it shares our nutrient needs. It shares the same amino acid profile as humans. So literally you take the enzymes, you take these amino acids, you take the minerals, and now you have this perfect synergy of food you bring into your body, and your body's like, woohoo, we're having a party, finally, And our product is something that you can feel working, and actually it inspires people to want to move. How beautiful is that? Because what's happening is your body's all these nutrients, and you're getting the chlorophyll from the sun. It's cleansing your blood, and now you have this energy, and you're like, well, what am I going to do with myself? I don't want to just sit here on the couch anymore. I feel like I'm getting antsy, So now we have this amazing food that's inspiring people to want to move. And so there's definitely a unique process, and it's constantly evolving. And Shannon he's like the Albert Einstein of algae. He literally has all this stuff figured out in his head. And we have a lot of future enhancements that we're going to do with this harvesting process.
Is it a high cost to harvest it? Low cost? Like what's the cost?
It's a high cost. I mean, it's a full-on operation. We have 2 barges, and we have a big barge to collect all the algae and bring it back. And then you have to ship, algae and water.
You can only harvest twice a year, you said, right?
And you only harvest twice a year.
So I think you got to do some pretty good business planning, right? To figure out how much algae is going to get produced, how much material to make.
Absolutely. And you have to test it too, because, it's made in nature. And there's also another type of algae that actually is not beneficial to humans. So they test it 3 or 4 times before they harvest it independently, and they send it out to a different lab. They harvest the algae. They test it again after they harvest it. They dry it and they test it again just to make sure that it's perfect for the human body.
Is there any chance, so you said algae is every year. Any chance the algae won't come maybe 1 year there's no sun or snowstorms, ice storms, something crazy, some crazy weather patterns?
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's
sure.
a big risk for your business then, right?
There is a big risk for our business, but also there's a shelf life of three years. So if there's a year where everything's going great and we're harvesting a ton of algae and we have a bunch of inventory, then we're going to be okay. But if, for instance, it's been a very dry year, there's not a lot of rain, not getting a lot of water moving to the lake, then we might not be able to harvest as much. But it's all depending on what Mother Nature gives us.
And where do you store it at?
So right now, I mean, we dry it and then we bring it back to the facility and we store it in this warehouse and this facility. And they store it right now in bulk. So this company, Klamath Valley Botanicals, is all about they store it in bulk. And so we are actually the consumer company. And so we've actually taken the bulk product and we've put a branding on it and we've created it and put it in these little jars. So that way you can take it rather than having to give you 10 pounds of it, because that's what this company is. They focus on the business to business aspect of it. And so we're working with them to be their consumer brand. So that way more people have access to it.
So let's change. So we can come back to your company in a minute. Next, let's talk about something different. Let's talk about psychedelics. So across the caveat, in most places in the United States, psychedelics are illegal. So put that out there, right? Mm-hmm. But I know places like Mexico, Canada, across the world, psychedelics are actually legal, right? And psychedelics are like LSD, magic mushrooms, DMT. And I think, and just coincidence, like, you do a podcast, you see some of it before. So I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday, and Mike Tyson was there. And Mike Tyson talked about, he was smoking some kind of toad DMT stuff, right? Which is like, this blew my mind. He's talking about how he does toad something and like a wakasa or something like that.
Ayahuasca.
Like, well, yeah. And so it's interesting seeing like Mike Tyson talk about experience. Yeah. So can you give like a basic, like, I would say, I hate to say psychedelic for dummies, but psychedelic for dummies?
Well, I guess the way you could start out is, again, going back to plants and adaptability, is these plants have a, pardon me. These plants have an ability to communicate to our bodies in a way that we can't comprehend. So like psychedelics can actually recreate new nerve growth patterns in the brain.
And that's where the quote unquote optical illusions come from.
That's part of it, but that's not why you really want to do it. And I think a lot of things as psychedelics are used. We talked about this earlier about the macro. People want to do maximize everything. You want to like take as much as you can because you know if the little is good, more is better, right? That's kind of the whole philosophy. You know, there's a lot of people think like that, but actually, you don't need that much of it because you don't need to have the major hero dose where you're like, oh my god, my hand is amazing. Oh my god, Jason, have you seen my hand? You know, like and like touching the walls. How well are you gonna, how are you gonna be productive in that day if you're sitting there staring at the walls all day, right? But if you had a little bit, and maybe you're like,
and that's you're talking about microdosing, right?
Yeah, and I think the microdosing term is kind of the wrong term. It's like a proper dose, like
I've heard the term proper dose.
It's just like you would take a little bit of something, like a little coffee might be all you need, and you take too much coffee and you're floored, and that could be the macrodose. You need a little bit of coffee or a little caffeine or a little stimulation. So I think the microdose aspect of it is just taking enough to let your body have a different experience and tap into a different part of your brain. Because what these psychedelics do is they also start tapping into different parts of your brain and creating new brain pathways. So imagine like you're driving down the freeway and all of a sudden there's a new intersection going like, oh my gosh, I can go this way and I saved 15 minutes on my home. Wow, that just got so much more efficient. Imagine what that's doing for your brain. Right. So if there's something subconsciously that you don't like about yourself, you can literally say, okay, I'm not going to, I don't know. I'm not going to think that I'm not good enough. I'm not going to think I'm not good enough, or, or I don't know. You can think of any sort of these mindset things that our bodies go through. I'm not going to stutter or whatever, you know what I mean? And you could tell your brain that, and your brain doesn't know the difference. You're like, okay, we're not stuttering anymore. Perfect, done. You know what I mean? So there's an opportunity to really tap into different parts of our brain and our subconscious that are beautiful. And I think people are ready for it, because we've tried I call it the treadmill of health, like we're literally on this treadmill. Oh, you're deficient in this this pharmaceutical, and you're deficient in this pharmaceutical, and those didn't work. Okay, let's try this one. Let's try this one.
Well, actually, let's try this one because a salesperson came by yesterday, offered me a 20% increase in referral fees.
Exactly. But let's actually let's have you do a little bit of this medicinal mushrooms, and let's have you lay down. Let's have you close your eyes and let's listen to some music that will actually change your brain frequencies and see what happens. Maybe you're an anxious person, and rather than taking a pill for the anxiety, let's do some breath practice and let's hold your breath. Talk about anxiety. That's the most anxious you're going to be, is you're lacking something. You're lacking air. You're lacking whatever it could be, right? You're anxious about the future. And in that moment, when you're holding your breath, you and your body, it's a beautiful thing. And when you can overcome that and just be like, I'm okay. Everything is okay. I can handle this. My body knows what to do. That's a beautiful thing. And talking about breathwork practice, I actually, believe it or not, I held my breath for 6 minutes.
Whoa. That's insane.
Yeah. And I did a little bit of breath training the year before, and I've been taking our product for a while. And you got to think about the story of algae. What it's doing is absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. What happens when you hold your breath? You're building up carbon dioxide. People don't like to be in a carbon dioxide state. It's not good for the body. So the body freaks out and wants oxygen. So my body had been, with the algae's help, I believe, has been able to absorb more carbon dioxide and be able to create more oxygen from that process.
So you think about it, if this algae doesn't exist, there's no Earth, there's no us, right?
Nope.
That's crazy how basic that is.
Think about mushrooms. Without algae, we don't have mushrooms, because they think about the evolution of life. You have the algae connecting to the lichen, connecting to the mushrooms, and then you have the plants. And so our company is all about, let's introduce the algae as the foundation. It's the foundation of our life. It's the source of our life. Then you can add in the mushrooms to enhance it and kind of tweak things where you might need a little extra tweaking. Maybe you're still anxious, you're taking the algae for a while. Okay, that's where we have some reishi mushroom. Reishi mushroom's been around for 2,000 years. Chinese medicine use it. They provide it for people who have problems with blood sugar regulation, they have problems with anxiety. Let's include that for people that have trouble sleeping. Now you have two, intelligent, organisms talking together and working together for the sake of bringing your body to homeostasis. And I think that in totality is where our bodies thrive. And that's, I think, what we should be focusing more of. How can we stay in that homeostasis type state where we don't get too big? It's not a big roller coaster. If we go up a little bit here, we get a little stressed, we can bring it down. Or if we get a little depressed, our body's not going to be super depressed. We're actually going to be okay and come back to homeostasis as fast as possible and recover as fast as possible.
Yeah, back to microdosing, I know, of course, no one will admit to this, but I know it's like kind of open out, or a lot of, especially in the Bay Area, a lot of entrepreneurs like do microdose, right? Whether it's LSD or mushrooms, because they swear, like you said, that the synapses work better, the connections work better, they can focus better, So a lot of people, I know a lot of people are doing for that. And like another thing too, like I could be wrong, but LSD, there's no risk of like overdosing. I remember reading a story where like a group of people like sniffed, like they thought it was cocaine. So they sniffed like it was cocaine, what it was LSD. Is that like a reaction to that? Like very, very rare. I think only with LSD, I could be wrong. Like if you take it too much, the tolerance builds up, right? So you got to take you might have to take a hero dose before you get a proper dose, right?
Yeah.
All those kind of things.
I haven't done much research with LSD. I'm more focused on the natural side of things. The fact of
because LSD is actually a chemical made in the factory, right?
Right. And to me, that just doesn't resonate with me. The mushrooms do, because they actually grow in Mexico. Like you can drive 15 minutes from where we live, and in August, after the right amount of rain, they grow and you can pick them. And it's so much fun. It's like being a kid. You're like a treasure hunt, like you see it, like, oh my God, there's one, and you cut it and you learn how to do it, and then you put it in your basket, and you walk around. And before you know it, you're seeing a caterpillar. And you're like, oh God, this is kind of cool. It feels like I'm in like Alice in Wonderland or whatever. And it's just an amazing experience. And I think it's more about life experience is what we need to focus more on. But like,
so with the mushrooms, how do you know how much to take or not take? Or you just got to experiment and see what's best for you.
You really have to experiment. I personally don't, I'm not focusing on trying to go for that hero dose. A little bit is enough. And I'm just looking for a little shift. A little shift is what I need. Because again, if I can't have these conversations and I can't, fully embrace the moment and be present in the moment, then that's not something I'm looking to do. And it's where I'm currently at. And maybe in the future, if I'm looking for something deeper inside of me that I want to like work through, then maybe I will go do that type of.
Are psychedelics illegal in Mexico or illegal?
They're still illegal.
Illegal, okay.
Yeah. But there's great potential for healing there. Like honestly, I want my mom and my dad to do them. I want them to try them, and I think my aunts and uncles. I think everybody should try these dose in the smart range, and let's see what happens. What's the worst that's going to happen if you have a little microdose that you're not really going to feel that much of?
Yeah, because I know there's a nonprofit in the States, I think it's called MAPS. I don't know what it stands for. Like they've been doing nonprofit research like since the 1950s, 1960s.
Yeah, MAPS is a beautiful organization. I actually know somebody that works there, and I actually had somebody that was staying at my house that was working for MAPS as well. And it's amazing the research they're doing, and it's great to see that they're putting that research out there. I have a friend that I met down in Xylita, and his name's Neil Markey, and he now became CEO of Beckley Retreats, and he basically does retreats. So he's an Army Ranger, so he's lived that lifestyle that that you can relate to. You should probably have him on your podcast and have these conversations more about psychedelics. And so he brings these people that are veterans that are just kind of struggling, or they feel like they've lost their way. They don't have their tribe that they felt when they were in the Army. And so he gives them these experiences in Mexico, and they do these psychedelics in a safe environment. They don't do a hero dose, and they explore them to sound healing and all these different modalities of these ancient practices that where we're from, and these experiences that are so nurturing to people that don't have access to. So it's a beautiful thing that he's doing. And we've talked about myself and him doing some of the movement mindfulness type approach to it with his organization. And yeah, honestly, we want people like in that community to take our product for, like a month or 2 months before they get to an experience like that. And then their body's in a better state. They're already in that more of a homeostasis type approach.
Yeah. Like I can't speak for every veteran, but every veteran I know has done either marijuana or psychedelics, right? For various reasons, right? Either mental health, PTSD, or this like, I can do any drug I want to, right? Some of that's you, right? But every veteran I know has done like quote unquote illegal drugs, right? But, and you think, oh, they're a veteran, they never do it. Like, no, like veterans pretty much like rest to it, just because of the mental health stuff, the pain healing capabilities. Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah. And like I said, it's the challenge of going from that reality to this reality where maybe it's less stimulating, but your body still wants that stimulus. So then you just struggle and you want more. You start like, maybe you do the extreme of like going to extreme exercise or all this other stuff. And in reality, your body just wants to kind of chill for a bit. And you haven't done that in maybe for years and years.
So let's suppose someone's out there and they're interested in doing like magic mushrooms. Any advice for them? Or what do they want not to do?
I would just do it with well, are we talking like a macro dose? We're talking a
whatever
dose?
what do you think?
I would just say try to find somebody who's done it before, and find a reputable company, because there's some companies out there now that are maybe they're not reputable yet, because it's still illegal. So we don't really know like where they're getting their mushrooms from. Maybe they're putting it with something else, or maybe they're so I would say try to really make sure you know the right dose. Try to dose it appropriately. Because the last thing you want to do is take them and you have an experience and you don't want that experience, because then you have a negative experience and you're like, nope, those are not for me.
You probably don't want to take it while you're flying across the United States in a plane, probably don't want to take it, at a high-rise rooftop building with no one around. You got to make sure you're in a safe place when you do this kind of stuff with people you trust.
Yeah, when I've done it, I really like being outside. And, for me, something inside of me makes me feel like a kid again. And I want to climb the trees. I want to explore, and I want to do this, and I want to like do all these things that I don't normally give myself permission to do when I'm in this current state. So I just think it shifts something in you.
Yeah, it definitely changes your perspective, like give a different point of view. I wish I had a TV to show this. So this was on social media maybe a couple weeks ago, and I sent this video to John Neff, right? So the thing was this cop was pulling people over, right? He said, he told the hey driver, thanks for pulling over. We're doing drug tests today on LSD and magic mushrooms. You want to talk to me? And he had a hand puppet of a frog. You want to talk to me with a frog? The guy like, hello there, Mr. Frog. How you doing? He's wasted. Get him out of there. He's wasted. He's done.
Really?
Yeah, it's just a funny skit. I have to send it to you.
Yeah, where was this? Where was this in the?
Yeah, it's just that's a skit,
Oh, it's just a skit. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was on TikTok or Instagram. It's just funny. Cop pulling him over. Hey, we're testing people for drugs, LSD, magic mushrooms. You want to talk to me or to Mr. Frog? Hi, Mr. Frog. How you doing? He's wasted. Get him out of here.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned TikTok, and I feel like it's kind of sad where we're at right now. People really want to be entertained and they don't want to be educated. And so with a product like ours, we can't literally say like, take this, feel better, like we can, but let's actually educate somebody. Let's tell them where it comes from. Let's tell them this beautiful story around it. And every time you take it, you're going to be like, wow, I'm taking something that's been deep earth minerals that's been growing and adapting for 3.5 billion years into my body. I'm going to appreciate it a lot more. And another thing too is the nutrient level of this product is the equivalent of 1 pound fruits and vegetables on this little spoon.
Wow.
Imagine that. So you talk about people that don't have access to really good food. You give them this and they're giving their bodies so much nutrients they haven't had in years. And it's a low dose. It's not that much.
Daniel, can you do a real quick deep dive on each one of these?
Sure. Yeah. So this is our blue-green algae, like we've talked about. And then I have the reishi mushroom, which we briefly talked about. And this is a tincture. And one of the beautiful things about this process was I'm working with an herbalist and I get to be a part of the whole process, the creation process. I spend about 2 hours on the phone with him every week. And we talk about our formulations. We talk about what's going on. I learn more about the product, learn more about the medicine, learn more about how he's done it. I visited his house. We've had dinner together. It's like so inspiring to know that I know exactly where this product comes from. So this is a reishi mushroom, and it has organic sugarcane alcohol. It has coconut glycerin, which makes it taste nice. So like a lot of times people take a tincture and it's full of alcohol. And if you're an alcoholic and you're trying to get through alcohol, then you don't want that taste. So the coconut glycerin does a really nice job with that. And it's double extracted, meaning that you boil the mushrooms at a low temperature for like 4 hours, and you take that solution and then you actually tincture it in alcohol. So there's two different properties of the mushrooms. So you're getting both properties of the mushrooms. And so next we have this product, which I'm really excited about. It's called Vital Source. And, I've never seen anything like this before. So this is like a creation that I like put in my head, like, I want this. And we did the research about these unique ingredients, and was like, yeah, let's do it. And then we talked to the herbalist. So it has pine pollen. So how many people think pine pollen's a nuisance? Well, actually, it's the multivitamin of the forest floor. You think about it, pollen pollinates the whole area around it. So all the bugs and all the bees and everything like that can take that pollen and the nutrients and go do what they need to do. So pine pollen, and it actually has phytoandrogens. So literally it helps kind of build the building blocks of testosterone. And then you've heard a lot of men are actually low in testosterone,
Yes.
a lot lower than, when our parents were growing up. So pine pollen is a great resource, and you're actually going to feel like a little bit more like vigor, so it's really nice to take before you want to do those heavy squats or whatever you want to do. Or if you want to make love to your partner, you're just going to feel a little bit more primal instinct. Cordyceps sinensis is a beautiful one. It actually grows out of caterpillar larvae in Tibet. How amazing is that? Literally, we have access to that. And so the person that we're working with, he went to Tibet, I think it was like 25 years ago, and he got the genus species of this cordyceps, and he came back to the United States, and he's been growing cordyceps, and he's a leading cordyceps expert in the industry. And so we're working with him, and he's been able to provide us with the products. And literally, it looks like little, like French fries gone bad, like French fries, and then there's like a little bit of a head to it. Ashwagandha, Ayurvedic herb, and it's really good for recovery and hormone regulation. And I took it last night to help me go to sleep. Before this podcast, I was nervous, so it was really nice. And then you also feel, it just helps you kind of calm the nervous system down, but it also helps regulate your hormones. And then we added in nettle root. And so Seattle, there's tons of nettle around here. People are like, oh my God, I got stung by nettle. But it's beautiful, beautiful medicine, and actually has a lot of protein and minerals. And when you pair it with the pine pollen, it balances out the testosterone and the estrogen. So then you're getting a really nice synergy of ingredients. And then we paired it with cinnamon and ginger. And so those two are known for their circulation properties. And it's a really nice tasting tincture. Why don't you try some? You want to try some?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just shake it up. And then what you want to do is you just want to unscrew the top. And then all you want to do is take the plunger, dip it in, and then that's going to be one serving. And you want to put it under your tongue and let it sit there for about 15 seconds.
So how many experiments did you have to do before you got all these like matches correct?
Well, my herbalist is genius. He's been doing this for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of, he's like, okay, let's just do this. I've already done this before, and I know these ingredients. And he's never really worked pine pollen before. So that was a new one for him, which he was excited to learn.
So what this do again?
So that one's our vital source. So that's going to give you a little bit more energy.
Okay.
And so you'll notice, maybe you'll be like, okay, let's kind of go after this podcast, let's do something. How did it taste?
Tastes good.
Nice,
Yeah,
huh?
I liked it.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's important to have something that you're going to want
So
to.
when you take new medicine, like, man, this is going to taste like, like bitter something, or like sourdough, or like something horrible.
Yep, exactly. So we wanted to make that taste nice, because it's a new habit you're creating. This is the first time you've done tincture, maybe. So there's a new habit. We want to make sure it's something that you want to continue to do. So we'd recommend with a new habit, you want to actually take it and put it somewhere where you're actually going to be using it. So maybe you have to brush your teeth every night. Mm-hmm. So maybe in the morning after you brush your teeth, you take it, or before. So
it doesn't matter if you take in the morning or nighttime. Any recommendations on that when you take your stuff?
I like to say that one's kind of in the more of before exercise, before movement type approach, or if you just need a little bit more energy, that's a good one. And then we also have a focus product, which is using the wild harvested blue green algae. And this is another one that I created as well. And it includes the AFA. It has lion's mane. Have you heard of lion's mane?
I have not.
So lion's mane is another one. It's like, it helps with the brain. So it's literally like a brain food, and it looks almost like a brain. These mushrooms look like a brain or like a cauliflower. And so literally it helps and creates the nerve growth factor of your brain. So it helps your nerves grow. And you add that with the psilocybin, and now you have, your nerves are growing, and now you have new connections to your nerves, and now you have a beautiful synergy of a brain pattern. So the lion's mane helps you focus. It's also calming for the gut as well, the brain gut axis. And then these three, and then also last is called Mucuna parens. And actually, the reason why I created this formula is I was doing some research, and I listened to a podcast from Jonathan Huberman, and he was talking about dopamine. And when you have a good dopamine balance, everything's just a little better. Everything's just a little bit shinier. Things start flowing in life. You're like, normally hitting the red lights, everything's a little greener. These ideas start coming along. You start meeting the right people. And so dopamine helps with motivation. So then you're like a little more motivated to want to do something because it feels good. So this Mucuna parens has L-DOPA in it. And the AFA actually has precursors of the neurotransmitter dopamine. So you're taking a precursor of a neurotransmitter dopamine, and you're taking an L-DOPA compound, and you're creating more dopamine for your brain. So now your brain has more dopamine. So now you're able to focus longer, you're more alert. And then we added 3 herbs that have a lot of studies done to help people with physical and mental endurance. And that's Siberian Eleuthero, Schisandra, and Rhodiola rosea. And a lot of these grow in harsh environments. And so when you put that synergy together, it actually helps increase your buffer zone. So that way, if you do get stressed, your body's going to bring you back down, or you're not going to feel as stressed. Like you can be able to adapt better. So this is an adaptable, longer term focus product. And I took it before we did the podcast. So yeah, we actually have 12 different products. We have a male product. We have 2 female products because we're working with, specialists in that aspect of it. But, there's premenopausal women and there's postmenopausal women. And literally it's like 2 shifts. And so we need to have a product that takes care of the younger female and nurtures her in that environment. And then also as they progress into different age, right? And so then we have a postmenopausal product. We're working with a naturopathic doctor and herbalist. And then we have the lion's mane, the cordyceps, chaga. Chaga is a great one. It grows out of a tree. It takes 5 years to grow. So imagine taking 5 years, you harvest this thing. It's beautiful. Have you tried chaga?
No.
Oh, you can make tea out of it. It's great. You take a brick of chaga and you put it in your pot, and you can make tea out of it. And you drink the tea, and it actually has melanin. So it's really good for your skin. It's really good detoxifier. It actually helps you with sleep. And it's a beautiful product. And so one of our things that, thank you, Darren, for sharing this recipe with me, is I try to have cinnamon, ginger, and turmeric and chaga for tea at night. And so I'm getting my body all these great, chaga is amazing antioxidants. It's got one of the most antioxidant properties of any of the medicinal mushrooms and plants out there.
Daniel, your degree is in kinesiology, right?
Kinesiology, correct.
I'm guessing you didn't know none of this during your degree years, do you?
Nope.
So how did you learn all this stuff?
I was curious, motivated. I just really wanted to learn. And I just, like I said, it's exciting to want to learn it and then share it. I like sharing. I really love sharing. Just like learning to do a handstand, and like I almost enjoyed sharing it more than I did teaching it and learning it.
So why do you think so few people know about this kind of medicine, this kind of like nature stuff?
Because I think people are, like I said, they're giving the responsibility away to the doctors. They're like, okay, you have to go to the primary doctor, you have to do this, and then the doctor knows best, so he's going to give you these products and these medications. And I think a lot of people are comfortable with just how life goes. I think like when I was younger, like 40, my uncles were like 40, and I was like, okay, we're getting 40, and then the beer belly comes and everything starts happening, and it's like, I'm 42 and I feel better than I was when I was 22.
Isn't it crazy? Like if you look at a picture of someone, like we'll say they're 55 years old from like 30 years ago,
yeah,
they look like fucking horrible, right?
Yeah.
Now someone like 54, 55, even 60, they look like they're in their 20s and 30s.
Some of them look like they're like 70.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's literally, and you can see like the inflammation, like I was more that I've been, learning about this stuff. You can just see the inflammation in people. You can see the heavy eyes. You can just see the kind of like weight that they're carrying. And so, yeah, I feel great. And I feel like we should not be comfortable with, as our numbers go, and then the number you keep adding on your, when you fill out like how old you are, you shouldn't feel worse every year. You should feel better. And if you're not, then you need to ask yourself, why am I not feeling better?
Yeah, that's a good point. Can you talk a little bit about the science behind this? You already did some, but you talk some more about the science that supports this.
Of which?
Any one of them.
So yeah, AFA is, it's one of those things where a lot of this stuff takes so much money to research, honestly. Like it costs so much money to do a study on this. And, a lot of people don't have, like for me, I don't have the money and funding to do the studies on AFA to tell people that it's good for them. But pharmaceutical companies seem to have a lot of money, and they can do that, and they can do all these research and studies, and they can tell you that this is actually good for you. But so a lot of things is there's just not enough people that are interested that have done the studies. Now the medicinal mushroom space has had a lot of research done, and a lot of testimonials done, and a lot of scientific research to back that up. And so, like for instance, turkey tail has been really good for people that actually are challenged with cancer. I can't technically say that our products or these mushrooms can cure cancer, but there's been studies that actually people take this, before or during or not having chemotherapy, and they feel better, they recover better because their bodies are getting the immune response from these mushrooms, and it's like triggering the body, like, okay guys, let's go, immune system, let's go, all systems go, let's fight this, we got this, rather than killing every cell, no matter good or bad, and then trying to regrow it from there. Like, let's just motivate. It's just like motivating people to just like continue moving forward.
Have you heard or seen anyone say anything about any side effects from your products?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I have not. And going back to the scientific studies, so AFA is so amazing, and I wish I had money because I put it all into this research. It actually shares the antibiotic properties of streptomycin, which is literally the common antibiotic they give you when you have, have a virus or have a bacteria infection. AFA has that in there. It has the compounds in there, but we haven't been able to elucidate those compounds. So with proper funding and with feeding the right people that, that can help us, we can actually, AFA can have the potential to actually replace that heavy antibiotic, which kills your gut microbiome and kills everything good or bad, just so you're killing off that bacteria infection. It also has antiviral properties as well. And again, we just don't know which ones they are. We have a feeling which ones they are. I just can't wait to get under a microscope and start learning more about it. But there's been some basic studies that actually it does have these compounds. It just needs to be further, expanded upon.
Daniel, can you talk in more detail about how the company got started, what you and Darren are focused on right now, and what's your big vision for the company moving forward?
It comes down to two guys that really care. And want to help people. And we've just been figuring out along the way. I don't have a business degree. I just have a health degree, and I have a passion to really want to help people and see people do the best they can and see the best version of themselves. And Darren wants to live this world a better place than, for his kids. He really wants to do it for his kids. And our passion for that, and coming from the heart, has been the driving force for this company. And our motto and our mission is to increase human vitality and connect as many people as possible to the medicinal and nutritional properties of these products and natural medicines.
That's a pretty good value statement right there.
And so anything that doesn't fall under that category is it's not something we're looking at. Like for instance, getting excited, like we're excited to go to the farm and share the fertilizer with them and be like, here you go, let's go. Like, let's do this fertilizer together. Like that's way more exciting to me than talking to an investor and trying to raise money or something like that, But I don't look at this as work. This is just so much fun. Every day is a new experience for me, and I enjoy every opportunity.
Is the vision, like future plan, like maybe have your product at like every GNC store, every health store, or you plan like to sell it like direct to customer in the future?
Well, it has to go in phases. And yeah, the dream is to get as many people, like, honestly, I want your mom to take it. I want anybody who, like, you're from the South in Texas, and then we're going to be like, algae, isn't that pond scum? I'm not taking that. I'm going to go back and have this, like we want everybody to take it. So whatever it takes, whatever that means, let's figure it out. So currently we're working on the traditional, e-commerce type approach. I was in Portland And I opened up 2 stores, and I literally show up and I say, here's our products, to talk about them. Oh, that's great. Maybe they'll fit right here on the shelf, and and let's try it out. And on top of it, we want to educate people. So we want to go open up stores. The dream would be going to like Walmart, and going there and offering out samples and educating people and doing a presentation for those people and saying, this is what you need. Try this for a month. Try this for 3 months. There's been studies actually in 6 months of taking AFA, blue-green algae. You can take somebody from nutrient deficiency and bring them up to nutrient sufficiency. 6 months.
That's actually a very short amount of time when you think about it.
Yeah. And in that process, you're going to learn a lot about your body. You're going to feel better because you're going to have more energy to do the things you want to do. And who knows, maybe you might actually start your new career. Maybe you'll do the things that you've always wanted to do, but you never gave yourself the opportunity to do it. And that's the impact we want to make.
You mentioned earlier about being a reluctant entrepreneur. Talk about your reluctant entrepreneur journey.
It goes back to living the simple life in Mexico. When I moved there, I wanted, like, my password was simple life. Look at this. I literally travel with product. I have a label machine. I have like my cards full of products. Is it a simple life? No, but I know that I know what that's like. I know what that life is like, and I know what it feels like. And I feel like I can share that and bring that into anywhere I go. So we're not driven by money and profits. We're driven by sharing health. And so we want all of our media to be about sharing healing stories. So one of my friends just took the product, and she had COVID and dengue within the same month, completely wiped her out. If you look at her Instagram, you can see photos of it. And she has, like, your skin is just detoxifying all these toxins. And that's, and so she's told me about her condition. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to try this product. Let's try it. Here you go. I met her and like try it out. Within a few weeks, she's like, oh, I feel better. And she's a high active person. Like, she pulls everything out of life, like she is waking up to sunrise, she's surfing, and then she's taking photos, and she's teaching 3 yoga classes, and she's doing sound healing over and over and over and over again. And so she couldn't do that. That zapped her life. And so it feels good knowing that we have products that can actually help somebody. Or this is a good one. My friend from high school, he struggled with sleep apnea. And so he got to the point where he had this machine. And so here he is trying to sleep with a machine. He started taking our product, and he doesn't need the machine anymore. He can sleep. He has the energy. He has the energy to play with his kids. He has the energy to be present with his wife. That's the kind of healing story we want to tell. It's not about making the most amount of money and having a private jet. And no, we want to like help people. In that process, our lifestyle will be supported. So then we can go back and do the things we love to do, which would be simple, connected to nature, surf, and live that, beautiful life that everybody, I think, wants.
Yeah, I think that it's every single time when people say they want to make $1 billion, they quickly fail. People follow passion. And of course, they don't make it every time because it's hard to be a startup, but those people who follow their passion have a way, way higher success rate than just people try to follow the money.
Absolutely. And we've put all of our resources, like when I made some money in the 401k, and I literally had money just sitting there, and I'm like, I don't want to just keep it here anymore. So I'm going to take all my money out of my 401k. I'm going to put it in this company because I believe with my heart that this is something I want to do, and this is something I need to do. And this makes me be the best version of myself. My business partner sold his house in Mexico. Did the same thing. We put all of our chips in the center.
So when they say all
we're
in,
letting it ride.
Y'all all in with capital letters, all in.
All in, and we're just figuring it out along the way and meeting the right people and just trusting the process and enjoying the ride. And thankfully, we have our products to help fuel this process, because literally, days are long. The energy's high energy output, but we're supporting our body with these nutrients, and it's working.
Daniel, talk about some pros and cons of your entrepreneurial journey so far.
Not having the business degree, not having the quote unquote, the experience has been the challenge, especially when you're talking to an investor. Like, who are you? Why should I give you my hard-earned money to trust that your passion and your willness and your heart and your willingness to want to help people is enough to want to support, this journey? And at the end of the day, and then they're also looking at their pocketbook, like, when am I going to get paid back? So we've been challenged to try to find somebody who really aligns with who we are and that has the experience. We want somebody to join our team. Like, come on, join us. Let's do this together. You have experience in business. Maybe you've taken these companies and raised them up and done all these things. Let's do it together. Why do we have to refigure this out if you already know how to do it? Like, we'll put the energy out there. We'll use our skill sets and assets and show up every day. But if you have the guidance, Let's join forces and do this together. And let's make this happen. Let's make this possible for people, because we have big aspirations, like I want to share information about health with people. So it's not just take our product, feel better. So you take your product, feel better. Now what? Oh, I should exercise because people tell me I should exercise. Okay, well then how are you going to exercise? Are you going to go to the gym and you're going to get on the treadmill and slug around and sit on the machine and like sit down and do a machine like this? When in reality, you could actually walk, or you could actually learn to do some movements like Hindu push-ups and Hindu squats, which are going to work your body through its full range of motion, increase your strength, flexibility, movement, coordination, breathing, heart rate at the same time. Which one are you going to choose? Which one's going to, which one's going to take the least amount of time? And also it's all about like getting out of the unnatural environment, getting into nature. So let's build the bodies up. Let's give them the activity, and then let's go for a hike. And as you go for a hike, let's go look for mushrooms. It doesn't have to be medicinal mushrooms. You don't have to know them. Like, our technology is amazing. You can literally go for a hike. Oh, that's the mushroom. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna snap it on my phone. I'm gonna research it. I'm gonna come back and be like, oh, that's an oyster mushroom. I can eat that. Cool. Next time I go on the hike, I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cook it. You've just connected more to nature. You've actually changed the whole perception of just going for a hike and listening to your music as you're going for a hike, as opposed to looking around and being active.
Yeah, how many people do that? Go on nature, have the headphones on, right? You miss all the birds and everything, all the noise.
Yeah. If you stop and listen to the birds, they're actually talking and they're communicating to each other. They're actually talking about you. They're actually like, okay, this guy's here. Do we need to be worried about him? Okay, like let's look at our escape plan. Like, like it's amazing.
So talking about birds, this was on a podcast I listened to the other day. Of course, I have no idea if it's true or not, but it sounds true. People are like, how do birds like fly over the place, over open water, like no navigation? And supposedly they think now that birds can actually see the electromagnetic field in the sky, right? I was like, this blew me away. Like
they can feel it. Sharks can do the same thing. Have you read the book Deep by James Nestor?
No.
It's a beautiful book. Talks a lot about free diving, talks a lot about breath, talks a lot about, underwater and in the ocean environment. And sharks, they have this intuitive knowledge of like almost having a magnetic sensor in their head where they know where magnetic north is. They just know. I think humans have the same thing. We know, like, when you're doing what you need to be doing, it feels right. Like this is you in your full potential. This is Jason, right? This is me, Daniel, doing what I would love to do, is share health with people.
There's so much you don't know. Like we don't know anything about space. We don't know anything about the deepest oceans. I mean, there's places on the earth people still haven't been to, right? I'm pretty sure, right? Like there's so much we don't know.
There's so much out there that we don't know. And it's people that are curious enough about it. But the thing is, there's lots of information out there. We're bombarded with information all the day. And so if you're on TikTok and you're just laughing at people, putting pie in their face, or you're out there trying to learn to scuba dives, then you can go explore that. It's all available. We live in this amazing time. It's all about like what you want to put your energy towards and what you want your environment to be.
Yeah, and people don't realize the power of our tech, right? I had this guy on the podcast a month ago, Miguel Ayala. He has like a satellite startup, and he was telling me that the power of your smartphone is more engineering power than what got us to the moon.
Yeah,
it's like I heard that before. He told me that, like, man, like this is more powerful than what got us to the moon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, our phones are literally going to take us to the point where we can get our blood pressure from our phones. Yep. We can get all these types of health signs and signals. They tell us how we're sleeping. They tell us how recovered we are from that workout from the day before. They tell us, how nourished we are if we give the information. The phones are an amazing tool, or they can be an amazing, problem.
Yes.
It's all about how you use it.
Exactly. So Daniel, is there any question I should have asked you that it didn't, or anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'd like to also further talk about Share Health.
Okay. Yes.
It's literally like Share Health is a program that we created. We don't want to make it sound like an MLM. I've been approached by many companies like, you sell this much product, you get this much money, but you have to buy this much product to start with. And it's like, I didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't connected to that product. I felt like if I don't feel comfortable talking about it with you, I'm not going to feel motivated to want to talk about it and share it with you, no matter if I can make a couple bucks on it. So with our Share Health program, it's literally, you feel better. Like you're going to want your community to feel better. You're going to want your wife or your significant other to feel better. So let's share health. And by the way, you see your mom. So let's reward you every time you share health. So that's what we've created. It's called Share Health. And so next weekend, I'm going to be in Portland, and I'm going to be sharing health through a bunch of modalities. We're going to do some breath work. We're going to do ice baths in the park. We're going to teach people to move their body in all these weird positions. Just going to have a good time and share some information with people and meet some people and build a little community. Literally, you have to go where people are, and we're creating the party that people want to go to.
So Dan, talk more about how you're going to educate people on this stuff. Like, you're doing content marketing, like YouTube videos. How are you getting the word out about that?
Yeah. So we have a YouTube channel where we've done some really good, overall, just focus on AFA, for instance, and just talking about how we harvest it, why you want to take it, the nutrients that go into it, the people that actually harvest it and connect, so you can learn more about it. And then the healing stories as well. Social media is something we're figuring that one out as right now. Currently, we have the Facebook. We're playing a Facebook game right now, Facebook ads, and we just need to do more, share more healing opportunities on social media. And then we have the email marketing and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's literally just trying to tell people one at a time and build the word of mouth and get people to get excited about what we're doing.
Can anyone take this from like age 1 to 100?
Absolutely. Do you have a cell? Do you have a cellular organism?
Yeah.
Anything with a cellular organism can take this.
Okay.
So you can have it. You can give some to your pets. You can give some to, if you have horses, you can give it to your horses. You can give it to your plants. We're actually currently making a fertilizer with the algae as well.
So talk about this. Like, as an entrepreneur, like, people tell you, got to focus on marketing.
Yeah.
Got to focus on tech. You got to focus on sales. Got to focus on product. You got to focus on this. It's like, okay, it's only 24 hours a day. Had to sleep at least 4 or 5 hours a day. Like, how day to day do you go about making sure you work on the priorities you work on? Like, suppose you have priority list 1 to 30. How do you make sure you work on a list 1 to 2 versus number 29? There's nothing to drive your business.
Yeah. And it's all about, I don't know I don't have the experience. I don't have a guidebook. I don't have the playbook. So I'm figuring out as I go, but every day I wake up and there's a message from a customer. That's number 1 for me. I'm talking to my customer, making sure my customer has the questions and answers they need to make sure they're making the decision that they feel comfortable about and they're going to want to take. So the customers are number 1. And then from there, then it's all about trying to figure out a way where we can tell more people about it. So that's where, talking to the marketing team and reaching out and figuring out how we can get more people to view our product and read our stories, and my business partner is creating the stories and interviewing people and, doing all the video editing. And then he's also packing bags in Mexico and opening up new stores, doing presentations, preparing for presentations. And then on top of it, we're jumping on social media and trying to do like a live here or there. And it's a lot, but my current evolution has been less about maximizing like muscle build or strength or skills, and about energy. How can I use exercise in my background to fuel my energy so I can continue to do this day after day and be present for these key moments?
Daniel, how did y'all do your customer validation, idea validation for this?
Well, I've actually had experience with the product. When we started the company, I was researching spirulina, and my friend, he's actually a really good meditation teacher. He left me his blue-green algae at my house. So it was literally this product with a different label on it. And I started taking it, and something told me to fast. So I fasted for 3 or 4 days, taking gently but the algae. Like you said, I had the focus, the energy, the mindset, the mood. I was just so into it, just so focused. And this is right in peak COVID time, right? Peak COVID time. Everybody's scared and everybody's worried about the future. And oh my gosh. And I'm just sitting like, focus. And I knew that this product was good because I felt it. And also this product has been around for a while, that people have taken it before. And it's not a new product, but it's about a new opportunity to tell the story of this product. It's one of those things where it was a trend. People would take it and then they forgot about it. So let's tell the story. Let's get reminded about it again.
And so y'all launched during COVID, right?
Yes.
How do you think launching during COVID affected any of your business decisions or anything like that?
Well, yeah, it's a great question, because we were literally, before COVID hit, we're focused on environmentalism. We're focusing on doing a documentary on people that are environmentally resonant, to show them in their light, to shine light on the fact of environmental dissonance. of the people that aren't picking up the trash, that aren't picking up the cigarette butts, that are smoking and just dropping things on the ground. So we were focusing on environmentalism and telling these stories of people that are waking up at 5 a.m. to rescue these turtle eggs, to hatch them. So that way they can be harvested and go in the ocean safely. But the chance of them even surviving because of other fish is very small. But yet they're giving up they're trading their time and energy for that experience, for that passion for the environment. Or a birder that just loves taking photos of birds. Or this woman, Tracy. So she was literally going around and trying to educate, inspire people to, let's not dump trash on the beach. Let's actually create a better solution. Let's show up with a can, or your coffee cup. Show up to the market, show up to the cafe, and let's pour coffee in your coffee cup. You don't need trash to walk away. You don't need that. So it's about educating people. And so we literally had to make that decision of, are we doing this environmental film, or are we going to be focusing on this product company? And again, it goes back to changing the internal environment so you can actually change the external environment. And I was like, no, I've been studying these natural medicines. Every time I give them to somebody and share that with somebody in my community, they feel better. We need to focus on, let's let's bring up the nutrition sufficiency, and let's see what happens. And then we can talk about this environmental film, because we'll get more eyes, more people that want to listen to it, more people that want to take action. As opposed, if we just did an environmental film and people weren't really passionate about it, it would just be another film that people swipe left on and don't even watch. So yeah, COVID was the peak. And so literally everybody's around, they're sick, they're worried about their illnesses, and you just hear all these horror stories. And we were like looking at ourselves like, we have the potential to help a lot of people out that don't have access to help. And so that's when we made that vision statement. We said, literally, like, are we going to do something small? Are we going to work with just be another e-commerce company and buy some product from this one company and then put some branding on it and sell a company on Shopify and not have connection to it? Or are we going to actually go and meet the people and talk to people and tell the stories? And that's what we want to do. So that's who I had the conversation with. And in that process, I've learned so much, because I've had to do it. I've had to learn it. I've had to experience it, rather than to just call some company up and say, oh yeah, I want this product. Can you send me this? And then, oh, this company, can you just put it in the bottles for me? And then can you put our branding on it? And then can you ship it? No, I'm doing it all. I'm traveling with it. I'm shipping it. I'm like learning about it. I'm pouring it, going to the place to pour it in our bottles, being the herbalist, living on the lake where our algae grows. That's how committed we are. Literally, we harvest it and then we put it in these bottles and then we ship it to you. It's not coming from a lab. It's not coming from a magical powder. It's straight from nature, straight to you.
Isn't it amazing how much you learn as an entrepreneur? Like, you learn stuff you never in a million years thought you're going to learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I look back and I think, okay, 6 years ago, you're going to move to Mexico. You're going to have this amazing life. You're going to do these types of things. You're going to start a natural product company and you're going to go tell people about it and you're going to share health. I'd be like, sign me up for that life, like, I'm in for that. That sounds great to me. That sounds like a dream, and I'm living a dream every day.
So Daniel, can you share your social media for yourself and your company so people can reach out to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the company is Saluz, SALUZ.io. And that goes across all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook. My personal Instagram is Daniel_Spencer11. But I want to talk about our name of the company. So in Mexico, salud means health and luz means light. So our company Saluz is the light of health. And if you think about it, the algae absorbed the light photons from the sun to create health.
So the name, did something that's popped in your mind? You had to do some research on it, or?
It goes back to Darren and brilliance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Daniel, I understand you have something for our listeners as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you try the product, because it's one of the products where you're going to feel working. And so anybody that uses the code CAVNES20 will get 20% off their first purchase. And we recommend you try it. And if you, for some reason, if you don't like it, we'll happily refund your money, as long as you tell us why you don't think it's working. And yeah, I literally had a conversation with a customer and she's like, oh, this isn't working. I've tried it for a couple months. And I'm like, okay, well, how much are you taking? She's like, oh, I'm taking, 2 teaspoons. I'm like, let's try bumping you up a little bit. Let's see what happens. And she's like, okay. And then I'm like, well, can you tell me about your health history? So this woman has been dealing with heavy mold toxification and heavy metal toxification for 3 years. She's sleeping half hour to an hour a day. So 3 years, her body's been extreme stress, survival, and she's expecting to take a product for a month and to feel like
Isn't that how
more
most of the
energy.
people are, especially Americans, the quick fix?
Yep. So I had a conversation with her. I literally just like was talked to her. I said, okay, wow, that's amazing. She told me her anxiety. I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry for your anxiety. I'll ship you our reishi mushroom for free. Try it out for free. Here's your refund. Just try this product out and for free and see it and just report back to us. And she spent an hour on the website searching and researching and learning about the product. And now she became a 6-month customer and she's buying more products and we're shipping them out tomorrow.
All about great customer service, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to our listeners, we're going to have the link to his gift and his social media on the show notes. You can find the show notes at www.cabinetshrblog.com. Be sure to share this episode with your friend, your network, and subscribe, rate, and review the Jason Cabinets Experience. So anything else you want to talk about that you can think of?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to really share our story with your audience. And I just so appreciative, and it feels so good to have these conversations and inspiring conversations and inspire people. I just feel so much better about my sharing inspiration than actually my own personal goals. So we're literally just the smallest company. I'm up here in Oregon trying to, spread the message. My business partner is Darren. He's a single dad. He's got a surfer for a son who's a teenager. He's got a beautiful daughter and he just wants to be present with her. And, we're just doing it for all the right reasons.
So Darren, last thing, can you give us any advice or wisdom or anything you want to talk about?
What I just did right there. Let's just have a quick exhale. Let's inhale. There you go. Presence.
Darren, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Jason. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Yes. And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great every day.